audio back.
Hello, and welcome to the second and final day of the Product Hackers Conference 2025. I'm Alex Granados. I'm the demand generation lead at this company. And yesterday we had more than 500 people live during the whole session. So thanks a lot. We also had 2 winners of the copies of Talia Wolf's book. So congratulations to those people. Today you'll have the chance to get a couple of more copies. So I'll get to that in a minute. I want to thank our sponsors, WordPress.com and Optimizely, for making this event possible. You have the opportunity to listen to a couple of talks from very cool people from these companies, so stay tuned. And before we start, I want to remind you about the giveaway we're doing today. So we're giving away 2 copies of Talia Wolf's new book, which is called Emotional Targeting. And the only thing you need to do is ask questions and be curious during the whole day. So how it works is you get 1 participation per question per talk. So that means if you make 5 questions on the same talk, you get 1 participation. So the 2 people with the most participations today will get a book each. We'll announce the winners at the end of the day with instructions on what to do. So it's super easy, just stay curious. So our very first speaker today is the Director of Digital Experience at Optimizely. He's going to talk about the future of the web and how to leverage AI to bring more impactful experiences. So welcome to Michiel Dorjee.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone. I'd love to talk to you today about how we build digital experiences kind of in the AI era and what that kind of looks like. So just a little explainer of who I am at Optimizely. If you've heard the name Optimizely before, we're a digital experience platform. We're most well known probably for A/B testing product, but we actually do a lot of different things. We have a content management system. We have commerce. We do AI now. We have a lot of different things. Basically everything a marketing team needs to do their entire content supply chain, from marketing planning to creation to then actually delivering and optimizing those experiences across websites and apps, all those different experiences. I do that for Optimizely. I always jokingly say I'm our best and worst customer, because I use every product, but I pay for nothing. So that's the easiest way to think about me at Optimizely, is we use everything for ourselves, and that's what I'd love to talk to you about today. There's 2 different parts, I feel like, in the industry going on right now. It's both the customer experience, so how they're actually browsing the web, and what you're experiencing as a consumer, right? Are you using ChatGPT, for instance, now to plan out a trip or search for new products, or just quickly, instead of Googling something, like even Google now looks more like AI, where the AIs are also trying to incorporate more search. So the entire experience kind of using the web has changed. Even browsers now entirely run off of AI and can do actions on your behalf. But also we as marketers have to look at how we actually create those digital experiences and how we automate and augment more of our work using AI. We call that the marketer experience. And those 2 buckets, I think, are very important. So when I look at my team, for instance, I measure them on 3 different things. It's reach, engagement, and conversion. And within each of those buckets, this has not changed before or after AI. It's just that the experience of doing each of those things has drastically changed, obviously. So what have I seen, for instance, is that, search, our biggest traffic source on our website, for instance, is completely changing. Instead of people now seeing an answer, getting 10 blue links, and then having to click through each of those documents to kind of navigate through our website, it now turns out that 75% of clicks of searches now do not end in a single click. They directly get the answer in line in Google search results. And this has a huge impact. Like even on our own website, traffic has reduced 40% year over year. That's not because people don't search. That's because the actual behavior and how people navigate the web has drastically changed. So what do we see in this behavior, right? We have a nice visualization here at the top of all the different pages and things that you would have to click through and navigate. All of that work has basically shifted to the AI. It's not the exact same. Definitely we see that a lot of sites and the way that SEO worked in the past rolls into what we now call geo, right? Is a generative engine optimization, is websites and apps now get interpreted by the AIs and answers from different sources, even from social networks and other places, just get summarized into results. And then only people click sometimes to verify the results or have more direct brand experiences, those sorts of things. So for instance, if I would want to buy an iPhone, there's definitely a possibility I could do that in ChatGPT at some point, or I might want to, but I never suspect I would buy my first iPhone through that channel, for instance. I would still want that direct brand experience. Or another example is like when you sign up for insurance or you want to work with a bank and open a bank account, it seems too risky to do that through AI. So people still tend to go to websites for those more brand controlled experiences. And then there's a huge shift in trust as well. There's a lot of talk about hallucination and what these AIs are actually presenting to people. But as you've probably also experienced from your own use cases using the AI, it's getting a lot better over time, and it's actually citing a lot more documents and doing a lot more work than you would previously, which is interesting because then it doesn't actually look very much like what traditional SEO looked like on websites. It looks much different, where maybe before you only had 10 blue links, but the AI is able to crawl 300 pages within a single search query. The other part to really understand is that searches are not disappearing. So even though our traffic is down 40%, that does not mean that people search any less. If anything, people search more because the mental load and barrier to actually doing stuff on the web has drastically decreased, right? My favorite example is always saying that if you want to look up a recipe for a pie, you always have to scroll through that entire article that explained the history of flour. That part has now disappeared. The AIs will literally strip all of the invaluable parts. It might still feature and be used for ranking, so SEO is still important, but what actually gets presented to end users in the end is very different and a much more summarized and quick and easy thing to see. So all of that factual information and how you actually get interpreted is much more important. So that factors into how we actually build our own websites. So just to give you some stats, so you don't know, so you believe what I'm actually saying is Google AI mode gets seen in July 2025. It's already by 100 million users. This is still the biggest source. I think people miss this a little bit. We talk a lot about ChatGPT and Gemini. Google search is also looking a lot more like AI at this point. Most of the search results now include this AI overview, and that's drastically increasing over time. When we actually survey our different customers, we see that this changes based on the region. So in Europe, you're seeing a little bit less of this than, for instance, in the US. In the US, we actually see that the overmajority of people are already seeing that their traffic is being reduced and there's shifts all the way towards Google, for instance. There's definitely an additional use case for people using ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude, but the use cases tend to be slightly different, which is what that last part is that we mentioned here, is longer queries. So where before someone might, to find out about Optimizely, might have Googled what is A/B testing or what is a content management system, now we see people actually go back and forth, and they can ask things like, what are Optimizely's strengths and weaknesses? How should I implement this platform? And the queries get much longer and conversational, obviously, which is not something you would traditionally be able to do in Google search, right? Every query, that you type into Google was just one very quick search. You get the results back, and if you typed in something else, you got a completely different result. They weren't stacking or building on one of another. And that's kind of changing with how Google and all these AI engines work now. And it's interesting to see that a lot of the AI engines actually still use Bing and Google in the background to do a lot of these searches live. So how has that changed the experience on our website, and what are we seeing in terms of traffic, and how is it shifting? So yes, we know the experience has changed and how that actually works for the consumer, but we also see that the technology and how these LLMs actually interpret our websites is also drastically changing. So where before you might have gotten 2 scrapes to 1 visit, right? They index your page twice, basically, for a trade-off of 1 click to your landing page that people would consume. Now we're actually seeing, okay, 6 months ago it was 6 scrapes, or OpenAI actually over-indexed a lot, right? It actually interpreted a lot of things, and now it's getting even worse, where we see a lot of scrapes and the content is being indexed very often, and this goes up and down on different months. And also the kinds of content shift drastically versus 1 visit. So a lot of educational queries and informational things that used to deliver people to the website, so think like blogs, we have a glossary on our website to explain marketing terms, for instance. All of this is kind of disappearing. All of the content is still being cited and being used in the AIs, and we want to be part of that conversation and make sure that if, for instance, someone Googles something like, how should I grow my company, or how should I build a website, that Optimizely still gets referenced and that we get named when you ask things like a follow-up question, like what platforms would be good at this. But that top part of the funnel is basically shifting all the way towards AI, and we don't see that traffic anymore on our side. On the bottom end, however, we do still see a lot of that traffic. And when people actually do come in, they actually do a lot of those things on the website. So where before we'd said we're just optimizing for traffic, right? It's literally, we just need to be shown. Old Google was basically a phone book. You're listed out, and then you hope that someone contacts you when you're shown in that listing, and you want to be shown more often and higher up in that listing. But it's really about getting those clicks to your website. Now it's about making sure that you actually get seen, that you get referenced and cited, and that you are getting some form of traffic at the end of the funnel from this. So we still hope, obviously, that by teaching people how to do great A/B testing, that they still find our platform at the end of that funnel. And in our experience, that's hold true. Yes, the traffic at the top of the funnel has reduced, but we still see same or equal or even higher conversion rates at the end of the funnel, because people are still consuming that information. And in fact, a lot of that information is better cited, more well-rounded, and they don't have to scroll through the history of flower, essentially, to get to the meat of what they're actually looking for. So how do you build a website for this new AI era? It's both optimizing for humans, so making sure that all of your content is branded, that you have complex actions, like I named before, signing up for insurance, or thinking really about what things would people want to do with your products. So in Optimizely's example, for instance, we've added a lot of tools to our website. So where before you would have to buy our products or to have to sign up for a free trial or things like that to learn about what Optimizely does as a product, now we're actually shipping a lot of those things publicly on our website. So if you want advice, for instance, about what to test on your website, we can actually use AI and build some tools for people to make that easier for them to do, so that they get some form of value very much more upfront. So when people actually do get to your website, you want to make sure that you have a very content-rich experience. So adding more things like video, adding more FAQs to answer more questions on pages. We've long since known that it's not really an issue with scroll depth. Like, we can make a pages longer and add more information if you want, but it is about making sure that all of the stuff that you need to answer those questions are condensed into one single page. But you can add as many different formats or interactive charts or elements within that page as possible. And then the second part is obviously that crawlability. We did this before with Google, right, where Google indexed your website. And now there's some additional things that AI specifically look for that they really like that we should optimize for as well. So that includes things like schema markups, FAQs. There's even ways now to add LLM text files to your website, similar to how you did a robots file, where you can actually tell AIs where they should find most valuable information about your website. Think where your pricing and packaging is, where your blog is located. All of that stuff, you can make it easier for AIs to interpret some of this information. So, the formatting is a little off on this slide. That's okay. So what do we optimize for that human experience? It's the same things as we were doing before, just expanded a little bit. So instead of just optimizing for our own website, we now have to take a broader look at it. It's not just getting links back to your website. It's making sure that you are part of conversations that customers are having on your site and on other sites. And then the other part is, and I didn't frame this just yet, is the last part. We call that ungating, right? If you had an asset on your website, for instance, we were in the B2B space, we offered things like ebooks and videos, and a lot of those demos and things were gated behind a form. You had to fill in 7 fields of information to even consume that content. That is not indexable. Like, yes, the short description that's on that page is lovely, maybe if you get pointed there from an ad, but in a lot of cases now, the AI overviews show up above the ads. So we have to optimize more for that experience. And in order to do that, we have to give more of that content away for the LLMs to use. And in our experience, so for instance, we ran an A/B test, right? We're the A/B testing company on our own site. We saw that by removing forms on our videos, for instance, so we only kept them on the really bottom of funnel demo videos. If people want to see the product in action, it's okay to ask information. Everything else, like webinars, videos that we create for YouTube, all those things, we ungated, doubled the amount of people watching a video to 75% or more. And even though we lost the gated conversion at the top before they actually consume that asset, it increased people contacting Optimizely after they consumed that asset by 30%. And I can tell you as a marketer, the conversion that you get on people watching a video versus people contacting you, that contact us is obviously a lot more valuable to us. So actually giving them more of that context and things to work with, increase the reach, and thus increase the engagement, and thus increase the conversion for Optimizely. Even though that seems scary by not putting the conversion at the beginning of that journey, that definitely helped optimize to get more people into that funnel and through all the way to the end. Same for agents. We do some optimizations on our site. So basic things like making sure that your website is structured correctly, like is your tagging, for instance, hierarchical on the site? Did you implement schema.org? There's a very good documentation online from Google which ones they support. We actually recommend you just go broader than that. And we have seen that AIs are better at interpreting very structured and clean HTML documents. The other parts are the same that we always focused on, right? It's building that credibility, authority, making sure that if you create content, you don't do such from an entity. Like we don't do that from Optimizely anymore. When we publish articles, we write from an author. And then has that author spoken about that subject before? How often are those articles updated, etc.? The important part, I think, by incorporating AI into your building process is that there's really no room in this modern era for creating poor content. We really do not believe contributing towards, like we call that AI slop now, is kind of generating a whole bunch of different content for different use cases is really good because it's low quality content and it often does not get updated and it doesn't really add more richness to your site. You want to condense what you have, but make every single piece that you have better cited, more well-rounded. So that includes going back into your blog and saying, oh, what did I publish 5 years ago, 10 years ago? All that content should be on brand and relevant and updated. And you should constantly look at and make that sure that that loop is complete from analytics and traffic data all the way back to feeding that back into the AI and saying, here's my most important pages, the ones you should focus on first. And what other things, for instance, go scan the web about how other pages are being interpreted, what subjects did they have on their pages, how can I incorporate that content into mine? That can really help optimize for getting people through that funnel. So to explain to you how we do this as a marketing team, the easiest way I can show you is just to show you some screenshots of how we've done this with our own product. So we have over 300 agents at this point. It's drastically grown. Even in the last month, we added just 100 because we did a whole hackathon internally. This is what it looks like. Literally in our platform, you can build out separate agents, basically. They're preset instructions, essentially, that people can run. And you include, we call those tools for things for the AI to do. And because Optimizely owns part of your stack, so like your content management system or your experimentation program, we can actually source and cite a lot of that information from your accounts and then also help you complete a lot of those actions. So whether that means planning out for a meeting, for instance, or doing research about a customer before we meet with them, all of those actions can be built out into the platform and people can run them as they see fit, or you can even go in and automate a lot of them. Sounds lovely, but it's scary and daunting. And like I said before, it's not good to just scream at people. In fact, I didn't even know if I said this before, but the way we did this incorrectly the first time around is that we screamed a lot at people, hey, you should implement AI more. And it turns out People don't know what that means. Like that paintbrush harder. Like I don't know. I'm not going to paint any faster if you scream at me. So what we actually did as a team is we sat down and we thought, okay, what internal processes do we have that we can use AI to complete some of these goals, like campaign brief creation, like website optimization, like scanning for citations. We've shipped a lot of these things, so you don't have to start from scratch with these. In our Optimizely platform, you can actually just import them directly into your instance in case you're curious. But here's how we ran that process. We literally we use Lucid, it's like Miro. You create a board, and we said, hey, we're going to create this process. Optimizely 1 is the way we kind of see our own portfolio, all the things that our AI and our different products can do, essentially anything from marketing planning to creation. It's actually helping you build landing pages and doing experimentation and optimization. And if we just take some scissors and cut through that circle and lay it flat, you kind of get a process here. You can see it here at the top, where we didn't sit with each individual team. You're currently looking at our field marketing team, for instance, when they put on events. And we basically ask them, you explain to us what you do in a day. Like, tell us all the different actions and just write them out in Post-its. What are each of the things that you plan throughout your day? Secondly, we then went in, and you can see at the bottom left, we had them put little dots on each of the Post-its to outline things that take a lot of time to do, things that are require a lot of effort or are frustrating to do. And then the last part are ones that are hard to achieve quality. And you might think, okay, what is that last one? That seems like a weird one to include. We've typically found when we ask people, what would you like to do with AI and how would you, rebuild your processes? People go very, very broad and start solution thinking. I would love every visitor on a website to be personalized to. I would love every brief that we create to be the most well-cited and sourced. Great. But also you're spending 50% of your time currently converting a spreadsheets to upload to Salesforce. Like there's other processes that we should also be focusing on and automating so you can get more space to focus on those other things. Our CEO always uses a lovely quote that someone once put online on Twitter that is something to the effect of, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes, not my art and creativity. And that's kind of the approach that we take as well. We want to see what are the most hurtful and time-consuming and frustrating things that you're currently doing, and how can we automate more of those? So in this particular case, for instance, some of it might result in AI, some of it might just result in better workflows and documentation. Like at the top left here, you can see that they said, picking what products we should show in a booth when we go to an event is very important to us and very hard to do at the moment. We should just create a library of pre-approved things that we can use, and then maybe the AI can help you go find those things and cite them much faster than you typically would. Another one, for instance, was working with our brand team. Say we actually create a request to create images and collateral. Is there a way that we should both automate this, or maybe there's even a way that we can have AI help you create more of those assets and we can skip that request altogether? It's really important that you think through what is the core reason behind some of these problems and how can you solve them with both AI, but also automation and requests. That's it. Great. If I can give you any tips and takeaways at the end of this, I would say the first time around when we went through this, we did a hackathon, and you can actually see this in the previous slide, as I have this here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just give me a second.
Oh no, I was just going to finish off. That's okay. You can jump in if you want. I was just going to say, if there's anything that I wanted people to take away from this, is to actually sit down and think and look at your traffic and look at your numbers for your website and say, where is the traffic shifting and what behavior are people doing online, and how can you incorporate that within the marketing team? And instead of just directly pointing it at, I want to automate this entire process and create this really fantastical, crazy thing, make sure you also focus on the internal things that cost the most amount of effort, whether that be generating a blog article or actually helping people convert files for Salesforce. All of that is valuable and useful in this modern era.
Thank you very much, Michiel. Actually, we've got a question from the public. It was super interesting, super interesting. The question is from Carlos. He says, "Hi, Michiel. Do you think that having a full page of frequent asked questions or a knowledge base in your website is more key than ever?"
I think so. The weird part is, I'll give you a little example. Google had this product, like an A/B testing product, Google Optimize, for a really long time. It was a free product. It was very hard for us to compete with because our product cost money and theirs did not. And when that product went away, we actually outranked Google for that result when you Googled Google Optimize. The reason is not because we are an amazing platform. I won't discredit our own platform, but the reason was we actually just looked up what people were searching for the most, and we answered the most questions on our side. And people asked the most random questions like, is Optimizely and Google the same company? And by us just putting all of these answers onto the page, we were able to outrank some of these other ones. So it's really trying to put yourself in the mindset of what do people actually want, and not necessarily how do you frame it internally from a business perspective. That's something that you need to teach people about. So I don't think it's wrong to have a page just with FAQs, but I would argue you should actually incorporate it more into your content. Can you answer a lot of those questions with the content that you already have, and include a section around FAQs, or even structure your articles to just be question answer format?
There are actually people who say that interfaces on websites are going to change towards chats.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be the case 100%, but
Nah.
there's an argument for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I love the chat interface for like every interaction. I think, we built this, I mentioned it earlier, but we built this tool on our website that's like a website analyzer. You put in your address, your website address, and then it gives you shows you a screenshot of your website, and it points to certain points and says, oh, we should give you advice about these certain parts of this website. If I would get that same experience in chat, it wouldn't really have that much impact. Like, sure, the advice might be the same, but just seeing it laid out in like a UI feels more valuable and helpful to people. So I definitely wouldn't be locked to just, a chatbot. Like, I don't think the future of the web is every website you go to is a chatbot. That does not sound fun.
100%. Thank you. We've got another question from Tara. She says, hi, Michiel. What's a surprising fail or limitation you've encountered when applying AI to experience optimization? And what did it teach you, or did you learn from it?
I think when we started doing this and we applied it to our own experiences, I think we focused too much on answering every single use case and less on the human aspect of this. Like, we focused too much on the robot, basically. And you see a lot of this, for instance, on the web. I won't name names, but there is a company out there, an airline, that decided, it seems like a lot of user-generated content like Reddit and stuff is being cited. So what would I do? I would just move all of the content off of my website to a fake third-party website that is just going to recommend my company a whole lot. And it worked temporarily. And then I think they plugged the hole in ChatGPT, and then it disappeared again. And I would try to avoid a lot of those cases where you're trying to play to the robot. Your site should definitely be structured and easy to interpret, but we should not forget that these AIs are trying to optimize their engines for humans. Like, there's people actually using these LLMs. And in the end, the goal is the same that what Google always told us, right? There's white hat and black hat SEO, is that we need to look at authority and credibility, and not including published dates on our articles and those things, and that those ranking factors are so minuscule that they are not worth it. It's more important to actually focus on delivering value to people than it is about quickly generating a whole bunch of content. The other way to think about this is if a ChatGPT could generate this quickly, what's stopping ChatGPT from making that content the next time and not showing your website? Like, you should be adding your own perspective and your own human vision to things that would be hard for the AI to execute on. Those things tend to outrank other things.
100%. And it's crazy how Reddit has affected like the whole searchability for many websites,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and especially with ChatGPT and all this. So yeah,
And there's
that's
a reason that one specifically outperforms, right? Because people want human perspectives. People put Reddit at the end of search queries to get to Reddit about a certain subject.
I
So
do it
why
as
are
well.
we trying to make that more AI? Like, we should not be. We should add more and be more public about our perspectives. Like, try to contribute to those conversations and add value to them, and that will drive people more to your business. We need to trust a little bit that people will be able to find us. So
100%. I think we don't have more questions, but thank you, Michiel. That was super,
yeah,
super interesting. And thanks a lot for being here today.
yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye. Have a nice day. All right. So after talking about the future of the websites with AI, I'm gonna go on with the next speaker. But before that, we're going to have a short ad from our sponsor, WordPress.com.
Hi there, I'm Christy, Automatic's Chief Customer Officer. When speaking with agencies using WordPress and other open source technologies, I'm always impressed by the unique value they deliver to their clients. That's why I'm thrilled to introduce Automatic for Agencies, a new offering meticulously tailored for web design and development teams building stellar sites on WordPress. We've brought together world-class WordPress hosting, a powerful suite of professional tools and plugins, dedicated client management capabilities, and expert technical support. Everything agencies need to streamline operations and focus on what they do best. The web's most innovative and creative work often comes from agencies. With Automatic for Agencies, our mission is to empower you to build and deliver exceptional digital experiences with unparalleled ease. If you're an agency seeking a better way to create WordPress websites at scale, visit automatic.com/for-agencies. Together, we'll help raise the bar for what's possible with WordPress.
All right, so let's move on with the next speaker. She's the founder of Get Uplift, and she's Talia Wolf, and she's going to talk about the path to more conversions in an AI-focused world. So, welcome, Talia.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good yourself?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, it's been actually more than a year since last year, but it's last
I
conference.
know. I know. It was so much fun last year, and I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me back.
Thank you for being here today. I'll let you to it.
All right. So, hello, everyone. We're going to be talking about conversion optimization, of course. And today I want to talk to you about emotional targeting and how to get off what I like to call the hamster wheel of optimization. So, let's get started. Okay. So, to talk about conversion optimization, we first have to talk about what is the actual path, what is the regular CRO process. So, the CRO process is pretty simple. You find a leak in the funnel, you create a new variation, you launch an experiment, and you analyze the results. And finding the leak in the funnel is more or less pretty simple. You go into GA4 and you uncover where things are broken. Then launching an experiment is also pretty good if you have a tool like Optimizely or any other A/B testing tool that helps you actually run experiments. And analyzing can be pretty simple if you have a good data analyst or if you have you yourself are a good analyst. But the biggest black box when it comes to CRO is knowing what variation you need to create in order to increase conversions. It's great that you can see that your product page needs to be optimized. It's wonderful. But how do you know what actual changes to make on a page in order to make it convert more? Because most of us don't know, and we don't have a real strategic process for this, we end up changing elements on the page. We end up just changing call to action button, changing a headline, changing a visual, and hoping, praying that will bring us results, but it rarely does. And even when you do get some results, there's nothing you can do with them. You can't actually scale them. You can't use them on other parts of the website. And what I like to call the deadly hamster wheel of optimization is something that every single one of us has felt and is probably feeling right now. Here's how it goes. You start by testing random stuff, which means you're following best practices. Maybe you're consulting with ChatGPT or Perplexity. Maybe you are trying to reverse engineer what some guru said on LinkedIn. And you are just testing random pieces of things in order to increase conversions. When that doesn't work, you start copying your competitors. Everyone's doing it. It's not just you. And really, why not? We're absolutely sure that our competitors probably know a lot better than us what they're doing. So why not copy from them? Here's what happens. When you start copying from your competitors, everyone in the industry starts looking and sounding the same. If you are real with yourself, what would happen if you would take your logo right now and your competitors and switch them out? Would anyone even notice? I wonder. What I've noticed is that what happens when you start copying your competitors is everyone starts sounding the same and looking the same. And that makes it even worse, because this means that now your prospects are coming to your website and they can't tell the difference between you or your competitor. And if you have the same features and the same pricing and the same technology, then how can they make a decision? So when that doesn't work, then we start throwing tools at everything and at the problem, meaning we hire new A/B testing platforms, we try new landing page builders, we try new automation and personalization products, and we convince everyone on our team to start using these tools, and we pay a lot of money and a lot of resources and time onboarding all this stuff. And when these products are finally ready to be used, you then have to start testing things, right? Like you have to start using it. But what do you test? You test random stuff. So there's no real approach to this. There's no real strategy, and we're all just going in circles. And every time we need to optimize, we're just stuck on this hamster wheel. We have no idea what to do. Here is the problem. Why is this happening? This is happening because we don't actually understand who we're speaking to, and we're collecting only half of the data that we actually need to collect. For years, we've been told to be data-driven. Everyone tells us that we have to be data-driven. We have to collect all the data, which we do. We collect age and geographical location and our titles and genders, and we know the browsers and the devices, and we know all the technical and behavioral pieces about our customers. But this data gives us a very part-time story and insight. It only tells us about our customers' behaviors. So when I ask our clients why their customers buy from them, they use this data to actually answer. And they'll say stuff like, oh, it's our AI, it's our technology, it's our pricing, it's our features. Here's the thing. 82% of marketers have no confidence in their ability to analyze their data. We are collecting data like Pokemons, and we have nothing to do with it. Now, you might say to me, okay, Talia, I get it, but this data helps me. I can go into ChatGPT now, use AI, and create a beautiful landing page. I can use all sorts of different types of AI to create beautiful product pages, beautiful landing pages, and optimize my site. So I did this. I went into ChatGPT and I asked it to please outline a landing page for me for a well-known soda drink. And I said, look, the target audience are adults and children. I mentioned the devices, the browsers, the ages, the geographical location, the gender. I mentioned how much it costs, how many calories they have, the container options. I mentioned how it's the #1 drink in the world since 1886. And ChatGPT said, that is wonderful, Talia. Well done, as it always does. And it said, here's what you should do. Create a beautiful landing page with a catchy headline, then use a subhead, and then mention all the features. Don't forget to say that you have 24 cans, it's only $14, and add all the key benefits, and of course have a call to action to shop now. So I did that. I created that landing page. And it makes me laugh because we will never ever see a landing page like this from Coca-Cola, yet all of us are doing this shit. We're all creating this stuff that means nothing because we have meaningless data. We are collecting only part of the puzzle and we're missing a whole other part. So meaningless data means distraction. So what kind of data do we need? We need to understand how our customers make decisions. How do people buy? When someone comes to your website, what do they go through to make a decision whether to buy from you or not, whether to hire your solution or not, whether to actually, sign up for a demo or free trial? You have to understand what they go through cognitively in order to make a decision. Now, we have convinced ourselves that this is how people make decisions in life, that they go through some elaborate process of making a list of pros and cons and what makes sense and what doesn't until they reach a rational decision. But neuroscientists, psychologists, and even the biggest brands in the world know that this is not how people make decisions in life. This is every single decision that we make in life is based on emotion. And let me tell you this. If you're sitting here and you're like, well, okay, in B2C, of course, if I'm selling a watch, it's emotional. Let me tell you, in B2B, it's even more emotional. In fact, think of Google recently found that B2B purchases are almost 50% more likely to buy a product or a service if they see personal value involved. And that's not it. they are 8 times more likely to buy something more expensive if they see personal value. So think about that. They are looking at 4 or 5 different products and they're all the same, but one is more expensive. They are 8 times more likely to buy that expensive product if they see personal value. This is crazy. And in fact, almost every single search online includes emotion. This is a wonderful tool called Also Asked, which I highly recommend. You can go in and put in the keyword that people use the most to find you, and it will tell you all the other keywords that people use in Google to find you and what they search for more in addition to what they actually added. So what is the simplest accounting software for small business? And then can I do my own accounting for a small business? And then everything on the right are additional searches that people performed after this search. Can I do this myself? Do I have to hire someone? How hard is it? Is it really going to cost a lot of money? Can I really, do I really have to hire someone for this? The whole industry is talking about their feelings. Here are the landing pages. All your business on one platform. Simple, efficient, yet affordable. Automate your invoice management today. And my favorite, the UK's favorite tax filing software. There is such a huge emotional gap between what our prospects are saying. They're asking, can I do this myself? Can I stop worrying about this? How do I know this is for me? And the industries are all saying stuff like, we're an all-in-one platform. We're powered by AI. We're the number one solution. Nobody cares. This huge emotional gap is what's sitting between you and your conversions. And the thing is that most companies are ignoring this. And who you're actually selling to isn't the age, isn't the geographical location, isn't the gender, isn't the browser, isn't the device. It's people who are asking, will people see me as the go-to? Will I feel more confident? Will I get my career advancement? Will I finally stop worrying about this? Will I get promoted? Will I feel better about myself? There are 223 different emotions that my team and I have located over the past decade that impact buying decisions. If you're ignoring them, you're ignoring conversions. You are leaving money on the table. Now, every time I get to this point, people say, okay, Talia, you've been doing this for, 15 years. So what are the most common emotions? Just tell us what the emotions are. So here's what you should know. It's never just one emotion that's at play. It's usually clusters of emotions, meaning there's multiple emotions that are at play. The number one cluster of emotions is self-image, how I want to feel about myself after I hire a solution, I find a solution, I buy a solution. People want to feel more effective. They want to feel meaningful. They want to feel smart. They want to feel happy. They want to feel good about themselves. A good example, Shopify. It doesn't sell you the software. It sells you the dream of entrepreneurship. Self-image is a huge motivator when it comes to decision making. The other cluster, social image. How people want other people to feel about them after they buy a solution, after they find a solution. They want to be looked up to. They want to be admired. They want to be seen as the go-to in the office. They want to be envied. They want to be wanted. They want people to see that they're meaningful, that they have passion. They want to be loved. And this is one of the biggest drivers in B2B, social image. Because when you are buying a product in B2B, it's not just about you, it's about everyone else. Actually, IBM understood this in the 70s because they know that when people buy something for B2B, for a business, you could literally lose your job for making the wrong decision. So nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. That's brilliant. Here's another B2B ad, by the way, that is my favorite. It's the Epic Split, of course, by Van Damme. If you do not know this, please leave the room. This ad cost $4 million to produce, showing Van Damme doing the splits between two trucks, right? To show the stability of the truck. Volvo generated $170 million in revenue from this ad by using emotion. These brands that I'm showing you right now didn't wait until they were established and big, well-known brands like Nike and Lego, Adidas. They didn't wait to start selling with emotion until they were known. What established them as the world's top brands is using emotion. So let's bring this back to CRO. How does this actually affect you? Okay, right now you are probably in the tactical phase of CRO. You're going and doing data analysis. You're finding that there's a problem on your product page. There's a problem on the landing page. Then you come up with a list of changes that could optimize the page based on best practices, Google, whatever you're finding, maybe LinkedIn, and you launch an experiment. And you hope, you pray it will increase conversions. If it increases conversions, you're like, yes, success, fantastic. If it doesn't increase conversions, it's a failure. Here's what I want you to start doing from today. I want you to drop the tactical CRO process and become more strategic. I want you to be customer first. This means that first, before anything, you're going to do customer research. You're going to actually identify the why behind the buying. Then I want you to identify the problem. This is a weird thing that's happening on my screen right now. There's something wrong with the slide. Sorry. So the first thing is doing customer first research, identifying the why behind the purchase. Then you're going to identify the problem, uncovering why people aren't converting, the real why. You're going to run a strategic audit on your website to uncover the gaps. Then you're going to launch an experiment. If you increase conversions, it's going to be great. If you don't increase conversions, it's still going to be great because you're going to learn so much about your customers and about your website. So how you can know if you are tactical or strategic. You are tactical if you are focused on increasing testing velocity, meaning people are walking around asking you, when can you run more A/B tests? You're strategic if you're leveraging tools like A/B testing platforms to test strategy. So you're not using tools as a crutch. You are tactical if you keep asking, what should we test next? What element should we change on the page? Strategic CRO has a clear roadmap that's rooted in strategy and business goals. Tactical CRO is driven by best practices, C-suite, guesswork, competitors, tactics. Strategic CRO means that you're running experiments that solve actual problems and you're not changing elements on the page. Finally, tactical CRO measures success based on uplifts alone. And strategic CRO actually also informs marketing, sales, product, strategy, everything. So you want to be strategic. So how do you get out of tactics? And by the way, I would love to know, let me know in chat right now, and I'll look at this when we're finished with this training. But tell me, are you tactical or are you strategic? Let me know in chat. Okay, so let's get out of the tactics. Step number one, you need to start collecting meaningful insights. You need to uncover why people really buy from you. Here's the data you need to know. What pain does my prospect feel before finding a solution? What are their hesitations and concerns? What are the emotional triggers that drive their decision making? And how do they want to feel after finding a solution? Now, how are you going to find all of this out? These answers, right, are not in GA4. You're not going to get this in GA4. Now, where are you going to get it? You're going to get it from your customer journey, from your funnel. Now, this is not our funnel anymore. We're used to seeing this kind of linear funnel, but this isn't what our funnel looks like. This is what our funnel looks like right now. People come in from different places and they go to our blog, and then they go to Reddit, and then they go to LinkedIn, and then they're on Threads, and then they come back to our blogs, and then they open an email from us, and then they get a text message, and then they close everything down and they come back a month later. This is your customer journey, and this is where everything is hiding. This is where you will find all this information, because newsflash, people are not making decisions on whether to buy from you on your website. That's not where people are. People are all over the web, and I'm going to show you. So meet Upright. Upright is a wonderful product that helps you optimize and fix your posture. If you're a person like me that sits all day in front of a chair, on a chair in front of a computer, you're probably slouching. So this product, you place it on your back, and every time you slouch, it vibrates and reminds you to sit up straight. It's a wonderful product. And we love it. And this was their original homepage. And as I said, reminder, your prospects are searching for authentic solutions to their problems on Reddit, on Quora, on Facebook groups, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. They are there having real conversations, and you need to be there. So we actually went into Reddit and we wrote, how to fix my posture, Reddit. And we got thousands of conversations on Reddit by people who have back problems, back pains, who are actively looking to fix their posture. And we went into there and we started looking at what people were talking about. And here's what we found. Everyone was talking about the fact that they really want to fix their posture, but they forget. They want to, and they feel super guilty about it. And the advice in here is insane. Someone said to them, hey, every time you drink a glass of water, that should remind you to sit up straight. Someone said, you should tie yourself to a chair. Like, it's crazy. But people really care about their posture. And they were all complaining that they can't remember to do it. They sit at the front, they sit at their desk, they want to do it. And as the day progresses, they forget to fix their posture. And that is totally human and makes sense. But they were feeling guilty about it. So we went into Reddit, we went into Quora, we went into LinkedIn, and we started seeing more and more of these conversations. And it's incredible because we couldn't find this in behavioral data, right? And then we decided to interview Uprate's existing customers. And what we found is they were saying the same. I keep forgetting to work on my posture. People were saying things like, my biggest concern is when I'm sitting at my desk or standing, because that's when I tend to get lost in my work. When you're working, you're so focused on what's going on, you're not paying attention to your posture. Posture's an afterthought. Nobody wants to commit that much time to fixing it, even though it's a big problem. Or it's the times I'm not thinking about it that I lose it. Uprate helps me when I'm sitting at my desk to not forget when I'm focused on work. Now, here's what another thing we did. We went into Also Asked and we said, hey, is it really possible to fix bad posture? And we found dozens of prompts, not real prompts, right? It's keywords that people are using in Google to figure out how to fix their posture. Can I really do this? Can I actually undo really bad posture for years? Is there any way for me to remember this? Okay, so we took all of that research and then we said, okay, who are we actually speaking to? Who is our audience? Well, meet the home office worker, tired of the pain caused by long hours in front of the screen, but cannot remember to work on it and feels guilty. We created this new homepage. Now, we worked on their product pages, on their category pages, on many different things. But this is what's interesting. Yes, we have the headline, the simplest way to transform your posture, helping 750,000 people sit, stand, and feel better every day. Your poor posture isn't your fault, but there is something you can do about it. You slouch because you forget not to. We all do. Uprate makes remembering easy. So we said, hey, everyone's doing this. Let's take the guilt away. You can outsource this problem to us. When you create pages that are fixed and focused on your customers' pains, their desires, their emotions, you can increase conversions. And there's so much information out there. You have this information. You don't need big budgets. You don't need approval from anyone. You can do all of this stuff now. In 5 minutes, you can have so much great information. And let me show you. There's chat transcripts and visitor surveys and emotional competitor analysis and review mining, which is, social listening is what we did right now. But you can also go into Amazon and look at the reviews that competitors are getting or other products are getting. You can do customer survey and keyword research and interviews. And then what you can do is use AI in a meaningful way. What that means is instead of trying to just ask AI for a new landing page, give AI your meaningful insights. So we upload raw data from customer interviews, Amazon, Trustpilot, App Store, Reddit, X, YouTube, comments, everything that we see, all of the stuff. And then we ask it to classify the data into 2 buckets: problems, pains, challenges, solutions, outcomes, results. And we get this incredible information from ChatGPT or from Perplexity, whatever we're using, that helps us synthesize the research. So it speeds it up, and you can do this in a few minutes. So I highly recommend the first thing you want to do if you're getting started in actually becoming more strategic is this kind of research. Do not skip this. Start here. Once you've done your research, you can then move into the step number 2, which is running a strategic audit. Now, we all know what a regular CRO audit is. But what I want you to do right now is to uncover the real gaps. When you do an audit, you can find what best practices aren't working, or you can figure out if something's broken. And that's how you do it, with like GA analysis, heuristic analysis, heat maps, recordings, best practices, and stuff like that. But what I want you to do is actually do something a lot more strategic. I want you to go through your website with the new insights that you have, not before, and ask yourself the following questions. Are you making it about yourself or about the customer? And I'm going to show you an example. This is Strata. It's an identity orchestration company. You do not need to understand what this is in order to get the difference. This is about the product. This says the identity orchestration company, abstract, integrate, and secure identity in your multi-cloud environment so you can take on the toughest use cases and do it without coding. We did our research. We realized who we're actually speaking to, what their real pains are, what's driving them to hire a solution like Strata. And we created a new homepage for them, make modern identity work everywhere. And it wasn't just the hero section. It was every single element on their page. In fact, we actually rewrote most of their website, and we did ads for them and billboards and stuff. What was really interesting, because we don't do offline. But what was really interesting is once we made it about the customer, we were really able to tap into something that was different. People coming into here became the identity heroes of their company. They found their specific problems that they were trying to solve, and they could easily understand what Strata is. So are you making it about yourself? Are you talking about your features and your pricing and your solution and your technology and your integrations, or are you making it about the customer? Question number 2, can prospects see their pains reflected in every step of the journey? This is Social Media Examiner. It is one of the biggest social media conferences in the world. And they hired us a few years ago to actually help them increase sales, ticket sales for this conference. And it says, discover the best social media marketing techniques from the world's top experts. That's great. But here's what was missing. When we did our research, we identified that a lot of their prospects, people coming to this conference, were feeling so confused. They were overwhelmed by social media. They felt left behind. They didn't feel confident enough to make any decisions. They were confused by the amount of things that were happening every day. And so this page, we actually, I think it was like 3,000 words. We actually added an additional section to it that said, designed for you, the marketing professional. If you're struggling to keep up with the ever-changing nature of social media marketing, imagine keeping up with important trends and knowing exactly how to successfully implement things. Imagine having all the wisdom you need to support every marketing decision. Imagine having complete confidence in yourself. Every single part here actually pinpointed a specific pain we knew people felt. When people see their pain on the page, they know that you understand them. They know that you understand the problem that they have, and they feel more confident about you being able to solve it. And that is critical. It's not enough to just say, you're going to get a great experience. This is going to change your life. You have to show them that you understand their pains. Next, does your design, does your UX, do your colors, your images, all of them actually support your message? It's great to have a wonderful, message that says, this is for you, or this is wonderful. But you also have to make sure that the visual is supporting what you're saying, that it's amplifying your message. By the way, copy always comes first before design, because the copy actually dictates what the design will look like. So here we have the best platform for client work, and I'm going to show you a few more case studies for teamwork soon. Best platform for client work, custom built for client work, helps you get organized and track every billable minute and ensure projects are delivered on time and on budget. But on the right there, what you'll see is a screenshot of their product. Now that is B2B classic. It's absolutely fine. Sometimes we don't have a wonderful image to use, but if you're going to use a screenshot, use one that's relevant. Run your client work in the only platform that's actually built for it. When you tell people that you've got organized, track every billable minute, we're showing them that here. They can literally see the actual things that you're solving for them, and they can see billable minutes. They can see who's working, who isn't working, if they're on track or not. And that is what really connects between what you're saying and your visuals. Okay. Are you highlighting the outcomes prospects actually care about? This is Allied, and it is a client of ours that helps people move houses across state lines in the US. And they have been around for 90 years. And this was their original landing page that said long distance moving with no hidden costs, which does sound like, the offer most people are looking for. We don't want to be told that it's one thing and then you get to the actual day and it's double the price. So this was the original landing page, but we did our research. Remember, the first step you have to do. And we uncovered that this actually isn't the main outcome that people want. What people really want is to feel less stressed about the move. It is so stressful to move. So take the stress out of your next move across state lines. actually putting in that the real thing that people feel and want to feel, and know that when I hire this company, I won't feel stressed anymore. This is what we need to highlight. You have to actually know the real outcomes that people are looking for and not guess what you think are the outcomes that they want. Can a prospect immediately see the connection between the action you're asking them to take and the emotional outcome? Here's Upright again. Meet Upright, the posture trainer. Our smart posture trainers use biofeedback to help you do blah, blah, blah. Upright go-to, shop go-to. Okay, you're asking them to buy a product. There's no connection between why. What is the value of me clicking on this button now? Make your posture the one thing you don't have to think about anymore. Shop now. Are you connecting your CTA with what you're promising? Can people clearly see, when I click on this, this is the value I'm going to get? Not sign up, but what are you actually going to get from it? And of course, we also supported it with testimonials. Now, this is really critical. So you have to make sure that when you ask people to do stuff, that there's an actual outcome there that they understand. Are you focused on how the solution works and its features, or the outcomes that people care about? So here's another great example by Power Up Planes. They have a really cool product that you can connect to any paper airplane and it will help you fly it with your phone. And really, we did a lot of research here, and we found that there were different people here that were trying to find different products. So creating something that really spoke to their audience, that was either DIYers that wanted to tinker with things and create new stuff, or the people that were just looking for an out-of-the-box gift that they can give to people. That was the difference. So power up your ideas with one of our lightweight yet powerful propellers. Are you promising? Are you actually making it about your features? It's a smartphone controlled paper airplane. Or are you making it about their results? Are you promising an emotional outcomes your customers actually want? So this is Strata Identity again. Multi-cloud identity fragmentation. Meet Strata's identity orchestration. Take me there. Or identity orchestration makes multi-cloud work. See how. And zero trust in multi-cloud world is hard. Make identity secure on any cloud. Securing non-standard apps is easier than you think. Find out how, and win today's identity battles and become the hero your company needs. There's a difference between just talking about the product and actually making it about their problems and their outcomes. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. If you want to get cited by LLMs, which is the biggest thing now, everyone wants to find out how they can get ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude to recommend them. You have to solve people's problems. Do you know why? Recently, SEMrush found that 90% of the times LLMs will cite web pages that rank in positions 21 plus in organic search. Think about that. They're not showing pages 1 and 2. Do you know why? Because pages 1 and 2 in Google are focused on Google, on ranking. But the people with the articles on pages 21 plus are the people that wrote a 5,000 word article that really focused on a specific pain that helped them solve it. And that's how you actually get cited in an LLM, by solving real problems and not trying to rank for Google, but actually trying to help people. Let me show you an example. Instead of writing an article that's called Best Budgeting Software for Startups, you can write how to tell if your burn rate is sustainable with unpredictable revenue. Instead of saying best employee engagement platforms, uncover why team morale is dropping when survey results look fine. Instead of writing an article called Top Meditation Apps 2025, ask why you still feel anxious when you meditate daily. Do you see the difference between when you make it about them or you make it about yourself? Okay, we've done our research. We've done an audit. Now, the last thing, running meaningful experiments. So meaningful experiments answer critical business and customer questions. Meaningful CRO programs run experiments that inform your entire marketing strategy. They're not nice to have. They're not a tactic. When you run meaningful experiments, it actually helps you change everything about your marketing, and it breaks the silos between different types of teams in your company. So how can you plan a meaningful experiment? Well, here is how we do it. First, we mention what problems we've identified based on the research and the audit. Then we say where this is happening. Why could this be happening? What is the hypothesis? And what tests will you run to solve this problem? This is how at Get Uplift, my CRO agency, this is how we write a hypothesis before testing anything. So here's an example for teamwork. Here's the data we had before we did our research. We're speaking to agency owners between 32 and 55 years old, mostly have 10 plus employees. They really care about reporting, dashboards and chats, and also billable hours. This was their original comparison page. Why choose teamwork over this company? And underneath that, you would have a table that just showed you the different features and pricing. Here's what we uncovered. We're speaking to an agency owner who's tired of over-promising and under-delivering. They want to know what the F is going on, wants to know if she's profitable or not, and if Patty, the designer, is actually working. This is what they care about. So when we planned a meaningful experiment, here's what it looked like. What problems have you identified? Prospects cannot immediately see that this solution is specifically built for them, and they don't know the difference between us and the competitor. Where can we see this happening? Our homepage, which we saw before, main navigation, and comparison pages. Why could this be happening? Our hypothesis is our copy is too generic. It speaks to everyone. We sound and look a lot like our competitors, and it's hard to tell the difference. What tests are we going to run? Messaging experiments on the comparison page and the main website navigation. This was the original comparison page. This was the new one. The Reich alternative specifically designed for client work. First, we spoke about really what teamwork allows you to do. For example, see the full financial picture and explained what features it has, how it works, how it was built to give you that full financial picture. Then after showing them the features, we said, okay, now let's look at the plans and the pricing and explained plan by plan why this company may seem less expensive, but in the long run, it is actually much more expensive. Then we even said, you know what, it's not enough to just know what the features are. Let us explain the outcomes. See challenges before they cause problems. Here are the features that support it. See? Get visibility into performance and profitability. This is the features that we have. This company doesn't. Manage financial obligations. All of this was written in the mind of what are people trying to achieve, who's an agency owner or PM, and how can we show that in a way that actually helps people compare us to other companies? Because we knew from our research that when people try project management solutions like Teamwork, ClickUp, Monday.com, they are all trying 2 or 3 products at the same time. So they're comparing us anyway. So let's make it easier. And by the way, we did the same with their main menu navigation. So this was the original navigation. You have the overview, the features, the platform add-ons. We wanted to make it more conversational and to make sure that when an agency owner or anyone from an agency came in, they would clearly see that this is for them. So we said, okay, here's everything you need to know about the product. And here's the features you need to run client work. Then we said, we know you're comparing us, so see how we compare, and gave them direct links to the biggest competitors in the navigation. And in addition to that, we also started adding social proof. And here's how this company switched to us and why they switched over to us. Here are the types of teams that love us. And here is how they use us. And here's another social proof, another case study of how they use us. So at the end of the day, really making it about the customer, really going all in is what helped them increase conversions all along the funnel. Okay, here are 2 emotion-based tests that you can run this month. First, current pain versus desired emotional outcome. How people are feeling right now and how they want to feel. Basecamp once did an incredible test. I talk about it to this day. All growing businesses run into the same fundamental problems: hair on fire, buried under email, stuff everywhere. This is current pain. They are addressing specifically how people feel. Versus, this is where it all comes together. This is the platform that helps small teams move faster and make more progress. So you can run this kind of test. Now, I just want to say, it doesn't have to be a complete redesign when you're doing this stuff. You don't have to completely have a designer or rewrite the whole thing. It could even be an email. Imagine sending out one email that's just about one specific pain that you know your prospects feel. just that pain, and you go all in on it, and you explain why they feel the way they feel, what they've tried before and why it hasn't worked, and what you can do for them, versus sending another email to another segment of your audience that's all about the solution, that's all about how they want to feel, how they could feel if they hired your solution, and see what gets the most engagement, see what gets the most opens, what gets the most clicks. You can test in email, you can test in your ads, you can test in so many ways. It doesn't require you to do a complete redesign. Next, solution focused versus customer focused. This means solution focused is about you, about your product, about your service, versus about your customer. So for example, we worked with Wiser. Amaze your students with smarter worksheets. Create and share free interactive worksheets with your students online. This test that we're looking at right now is something that we ran during COVID, the height of COVID, when teachers did not give a flying F about, amazing their students. What did they care about? Winning their time back, creating worksheets that grade themselves, that end overwhelm night prep, that get you back to your family and help you win your time back. So when you can actually test something that's solution focused versus customer focused. Okay, let's wrap this up and then start taking some questions. Conversion optimization isn't about changing elements on the page. I hope I've made that much clear. It's about solving people's problems. If you take anything from me today, it's that reality really, really sucks. And it's our job as marketers and as people who create products to make life a bit better for them, a little bit better, to not create horrible experiences that just, make it harder for them to convert and get what they need. That's it for me. And I'm excited to take your questions and hear more from you.
Thank you, Talia. That was super, super interesting. I really like the pinball funnel.
That's Ram Fishkin. So Ram Fishkin wrote an incredible post, or maybe it was a video, about how it's a pinball machine, which I love. And then someone else created a beautiful GIF for him. And I was like, hey, can I use this? And they were both so kind to let me use it. You should definitely check them out. Both of them have incredible, obviously, insights and information.
100%, because I feel like, especially in marketing, you really feel that way. Like you feel like it's all over the place. So yeah, 100%. That was super accurate. We've got a few questions from the public. So the first question is from Carlos. He says, "Hey Talia, how do you balance emotional with the description of what I actually sell? So emotion with the description of what you actually sell. For instance, if I am selling a training, how do you balance what the user will do versus how the training is organized, for instance?"
Okay. Great question, Carlos. Thank you. I think one thing that everyone needs to remember is that when I talk about emotional targeting or using emotion, I think when people think about emotion, they think fluff. They think like, oh, I need a flowery, cute headline that will make everyone feel emotional and tearful. But a real emotional connection on a website, on a landing page, isn't about the fluff. It's throughout the entire page. It's in the small things. It's in the little promises. The way I like to think about it, Carlos, is that if you want to say that your training is organized in a certain way, what I want you to do is to add the value. Why is it organized that way? Why should the user care, this customer of yours, care that you organized your training in this way? I'm not saying don't talk about your product. Of course, you should talk about your product. But what you need to do is always connect it to the value. So a good way to think about it is you take the feature, whatever it is that you're selling, and you pair the emotional result with it. And that will be your emotion-based copy. So if you're selling training for anything, you can do that. If you are selling a product that is B2B, you can also do it. In anything, whenever you come to write anything down, a headline, a bullet point, a call to action, think about what am I selling and why should people care? And then write the copy.
100%. We're gonna go over to the next question. is from Daniela. She says, when you implement a change based on emotional insights, how do you move beyond traditional conversion rates to quantitatively measure the success and scalability of the emotional impact itself? That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, and it's a great question, Daniela. And the reason is, I think, like, I'm not a conventional CRO. So I'm going to say, of course, you need to measure things, and you have to measure it at the end of the day with the bottom line. Did it increase conversions or did it not? I'm not sitting here on this other side of the screen and saying, we implemented this thing and it makes people feel great, and we just go live even if it, increases conversions or not. That's not what we are. We definitely measure our performance. But you're right in the fact that many times it's hard to actually see the results immediately. Sometimes, for example, we just ran a test for Allied, which I mentioned before, which is the moving company, and we started implementing social proof throughout the form. And what we originally saw in the A/B test was like, oh, it's not increasing conversions at all. Like, we weren't seeing more form people starting to fill in the form. But what we did see is more completion rates. And we actually didn't measure that at first. We were just trying to increase people starting the form. That is one measure, one KPI that this company cares about. So I think one of the things that you want to think about when you're thinking about measurable stuff is, what else should you be measuring in addition to the one single conversion that you have? And also what other impact it can have. And I will also say that because we're in the era right now where most platforms want to keep their own traffic, meaning Facebook, Reddit, LinkedIn, YouTube, none of them want to send you traffic. They're not in the business of sending you traffic. You're not going to see what you used to see. Most companies now are seeing a dip in their traffic. So that means that it's getting harder and harder to track your results. And what you want to see is over time. And I know it's hard in CRO, because in CRO, you're like, I did an A/B test. I want to see the immediate results. But what we love to measure is not just one test at a time, but we'll look quarterly and half year and full year at, have we been trending up? Because it's going to be very hard to attribute one test or one ad or one email to the success of all of this, especially as you start implementing more and more emotional resonance into your copy, into your design, into your funnel. Even when you have someone from your team go into Reddit and answer a question there, that's going to have an impact on conversions, whether you think so or not. So at the end of the day, you have to look at the trend, which is very hard to sell in-house, I know. But that's where it's going to, especially now, like even with LLMs. So I don't know if that answered your question. Let me know if there's anything else I can answer. But I think the goal is to look at trends and to keep, even when you're seeing traffic going down, to keep seeing conversions going up.
Thank you very much. We've got one last question, and just enough time for that. So Tara says, Talia, I love your sessions, great insights. I followed you for a while and won your book. Actually, she won one of the books we're giving away yesterday. So, yeah. So the question here is, which cognitive biases do you find the most reliable when running CRO experiments for SaaS, for AI-related SaaS? Thank you.
All right. First of all, congrats on winning the book. I would love to hear what you think. The book came out this year and I'm really excited about it. And it's weird to take 12 years of your experience and put it into a book, and then try and make it a comic book, because I'm obsessed with comic books. Here's what I want to say before I answer your question. One thing that's super important to remember, and I really want it to be very, very clear, is that emotional targeting is not about triggering emotions. We don't want to make people feel anything. You're not trying to make them feel fear or abandonment or love, or the whole Bible of emotional targeting is tapping into what people are already feeling. what they're already going through emotionally, and helping them solve that. And it's really important to know that, because a lot of times people ask like, oh, should we try and trigger this, or should we try and make them feel that? No, we're not manipulating people. What we're saying is there are already existing emotions, and you need to tap into those and help people with them in order to increase conversion. So I just wanted to get that out first before I answer. I would say that there are, so as I mentioned before, we've identified 223 emotional triggers. And there are also cognitive biases, countless cognitive biases that you can look into. The IKEA effect, loss aversion, bandwagon effect, framing effect. Yesterday, I sent out an email to my list about the framing effect, of how you need to frame things. So it's actually quite hard for me to give you a specific answer about like SaaS in AI related, because it really depends on your audience and how they're feeling. Once you understand how they're feeling right now, how they make decisions, then it's easier to also understand their biases, and how you can help them. Many times the bandwagon effect in SaaS is a big one, because bandwagon effect is by showing other people that many others are using it too. People jump on the bandwagon. That's where it comes from. And the reason that works in B2B is because it taps into what I was talking about before with like IBM, is that a SaaS decision is risky. So when you use the bandwagon effect, it's a social proof. It's trust. You're showing them that other people like them are using the product and they can trust it. To tell you that that is 100% correct and that's exactly what you should use, no. You definitely need to do your research. So the annoying answer is it depends. But cognitive biases are a very good thing to tap into and understand. I actually have on our website on Get Uplift, you can download 30 of the most common cognitive biases. And I've done some work on that of like how to identify them, how to tap into them, and you can download that for free. So if you want to kind of get started on that, you can also do that after you read my book.
Cool.
But that's it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Talia. I think that was a masterclass on conversion, 100%. So thank you very much for being here today. And yeah, hopefully see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be on here again. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your day and all the rest of the talks.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next session. But before that, we run one short ad from our sponsor, Optimizely. So thank you very much for staying tuned. All right, so right now for the next session, we've got an alternative format. Let's call it that way. So it's a Q&A session. So we've got today Grace Miller. She's the head of failure and experimentation at the Diary of a CEO. And we've got also Pepe Martín, who is the founder of Minimalism. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you guys?
Doing fine.
I'm well, thank you. So excited to be here.
All right, so I'll let you guys do it. So thank you very much for being here today.
Okay, I think I will start. Grace, I am a huge fan of Diary of a CEO, so I think this is going to be really easy for me because I know a lot about the FSU, so I will try to bring everything to the people that is listening or watching.
Yeah, I
But
love
in this event, we talk about growth in B2B, SaaS, e-commerce. But in podcasts, I think when you have to explain your job to someone is kind of difficult, I guess. So how do you find growth in podcasts as Day of SEO?
Yeah, it's all about trying new things. And I think it's more about, rather than just the word growth, it's about the culture you create. So at Flight Story, the Diary of a CEO, and in all of our podcasts, it's about curiosity. So asking why, making it a comfortable environment where people feel psychologically safe to ask questions, to say, why does this work this way? Or could we do it another way that would be better? And that all contributes to growth at the end of the day. So whether someone asks a question and it goes in a right way through an experiment, or they ask a question and it might be a failure or inconclusive, we're still learning, and ultimately it's pushing towards our growth. So how we kind of frame growth is by trying new things rather than just hitting a KPI or a metric. We actually celebrate and encourage people through the trying.
Okay, could you give us an example? Because I think everybody's thinking now about titles, thumbnails,
Yeah.
but I know, because I hear a lot about the Day of SEO, that you change a lot of things, even like the machine that you have in your studio, because it
Yeah.
changed even the feeling of the Steve Barnett or the people that is talking with him. Could you
Yeah.
explain that? Yeah.
Yeah, there's honestly so much. So we experiment what we call the 1%, where there's something we can't necessarily measure, where the team before have put like played music for a guest before they come in. So
Yeah,
it's
the
like,
very beginning, isn't it? Just
yeah,
when they are coming. Okay.
it creates the environment for them where they feel comfortable, feel safe, and also feel respected, that the team have gone the extra mile to find out their favorite music. Which is what we call 1%. And then experiments are things that we can measure. So it could be something in the episode, where you might have seen recently, we had an episode with Dr. Jill where she had a real brain in the episode, which was really cool. And so those sort of things are experiments where we can see, are people more engaged during that moment? Does interest peak, and do we get comments from it? So it's a mix of 1% and experiments that we run across the whole podcast.
That's nice, because I saw in Jimmy Fallon show in which you give the interview like a book or something like that with picture just at the very end of the podcast. How you do that and why you do that?
Yeah, it's our amazing guest booking and research team. So it's led by someone called Jemima, and she's absolutely incredible. And over the years, we basically started in the same month, almost 4 years ago. And over the years, she's been refining the process of how do we make sure the guest has the best experience possible. So whether that's being picked up in the car, that's the Diary of a CEO car, that's branded with our amazing driver smiley, to something which Jimmy mentioned, which is a guest book of all of the photos from the episode. So Will, who works with Steve, he takes photos of the guest as they come in throughout the episode, and then the teamwork magic behind the scenes to print them all out while the episode's happening, make the book, and then by the end of the episode, before they walk out the door, they're given that book as a thank you for coming on and a nice memento of their time on the Diary of a CEO. And it just kind of adds that final experience of, instead of just leaving, they get a little special gift to take with them.
That's really nice. But at the same time that I listen to you, it's like, okay, there are many things that I have to do with my podcast and even with the people that is coming to my podcast. But one of the topics that I have is how you translate it to your team. Like, okay, you got an idea. Steve has an idea, I think, or the team has an idea. How you explain it even to the driver that is in the car with the interviewer?
Yeah, it's actually almost starts before the person even joins the company. So Steve has created something called Culture Test, which is actually available online for people to use. And you can put your team's culture into that test. And before people even apply for a role, they can do the culture test to see, do they fit the culture? And when you say that, if someone is the right culture for the team, explaining something like that is really easy because they understand straight away why it's important. So Smiley, the driver for the Drivers Yo and Steve, you'll see him in the street cleaning the area around the car or constantly cleaning the car because he has the utmost respect for his role, which is just incredible. And he's just part of the culture of going the extra mile, trying new things, the 1%. He's always making sure the snacks and drinks inside of the car are filled, that it's perfectly clean. He is the epitome of going the extra mile and what our culture stands for. And it shows when people join and when they've done the culture test, however they score in it and they come in, you can see they already know what matters most to the company. And they're people who will find the 1% and make sure they happen and really go the extra mile.
Yeah, that's really nice. I was only thinking about the thumbnails and the titles, but this is huge. Talking about something that many people does not realize, that is that you spend a lot of money in its podcast, but you have to be like in a balance between spending and also improving. So how do you manage that? Like, okay, I'm going to try this, but at the very end, I need views and I need people that's watching myself.
Yeah, I think it's about a difference in experiments. So having smaller experiments, but also big ones, and understanding how do they align with the goal you want to achieve. So say it's views. Every single experiment, no matter whether they're small or big, should align with whatever the goal is. So we don't want to go and fire off different experiments at different goals because they won't align and eventually help us achieve that view goal, for example, if that's your goal. What we want to do is run every experiment towards that, whether it's something that's a free experiment, whether it's paid, but managing also your expectations of how far can you go to achieve that. So what can you do within the current budget you have? And I actually think having smaller budgets can be actually more beneficial because you're being able to use your almost like initiative and ideas to help you experiment and get further without just being like, we need more budget. It's how can we work within this budget to achieve that? And there's so many experiments and ideas you can run with, no matter what you're working on. So if it was views, you could obviously run a few small experiments on views. If it was on YouTube, for example, there's so many features on YouTube that allow you to run experiments, but then you might run a big one that maybe costs more, which could be a new format of your podcast, or could be if you're a social creator, a new style of content that might cost slightly more to create, but actually it could be a huge new revenue stream that you didn't know you could unlock with views. So really we run both at the same time.
That's really nice. There's one question that I want to make you is like talking about short videos and reels or vertical ones, call it however we want. You got like a separate YouTube channel just for that, and even when I talk with people that they say that they know about YouTube, they say no, use the vertical ones to put more views in the big ones, but you split it. Could you explain why?
For shorts or for
for shorts and clips too. Yeah.
So we've actually experimented between shorts on a separate channel and shorts on our main channel, and they're on our main channel now again. So we run them on the main channel because basically on YouTube you can tag your long form video on the shorts if they're on the same channel. So it really helps the flow of your user journey. When they're seeing a short, they can click that link to the episode from in their algorithm and then go straight to your long form video. So we did start it on another channel like you've seen, but now we've transitioned to our main channel.
Okay, and with clips, clips for people that is listening is like a minute video or something like that, just a clip from the huge podcast, because some of your podcasts has like 2 hours or even 3 hours sometimes. So why you use a new channel for the clips? Why are you thinking about moving again to the main channel?
Yeah, it's more of a different marketing funnel. So some people might only consume shorter clips. So 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whereas our episodes can obviously be 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. And so we have the clips channel to be able to bring people into the funnel and say, hey, here's a short video if you want to see if you like the episode or a snippet of the episode. And then if they do, the link is right in the description for them to convert to the long form episode. So we use both of them to help fuel each other.
That's nice. One thing that I've been thinking about the long interviews, the one that is only I will say 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, because many times you have like 2 hours or 3 hours. One thing that I don't know, if you cut the interview, like you film like 6 hours or 4 hours or something like that, and like in the experiment you think, okay, I'm going to cut this because it has no sense or whatever. Do you cut it? Because I think this is going to be a good example about growth. Like, okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We cut it and then keep playing the full interview.
Yeah, so at the start, so our amazing producer, Jack, he wanted to keep it as natural as possible. So he would only cut out if there was awkward pauses or stumbles or mumbles and things, but tried to keep it as natural so that everything that was shared felt like you were really listening to it. Because there's some podcasts I listen to and you can really tell if it's cut or chopped because they try to make things piece together and then sometimes they don't. So
yeah, you cannot feel it. You cannot feel it for sure. It's perfect cut. It's a perfect cut. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the mentality is still keep the conversation as natural as possible. But obviously, if there's something, say, a repeated story or something that doesn't fit, obviously it will be cut out. But there was an amazing female health roundtable we had recently where I think they spoke for 8 hours or 7 or 8 hours. And what they had to do, we actually cut it into 2 episodes and release them as part 1 and part 2 because it was such an amazing conversation that the world needed to hear. And they've done fantastically online because female health is such an important topic. But it's really interesting because everyone was just so engaged, and there's also 3 guests and Steve, so 4 people. So obviously slightly more to discuss and needed more time. But I think it's amazing that the conversation can go on for so long, but so much of it was valuable that we put out 2 episodes. So it works. Yeah, usually most of it stays in and goes out to the world.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Like 4 hours or 8 hours is like crazy. I don't know how the cameras are still rolling like that, but I would like to go there to take it in the studio. But it's okay. Maybe one day I can go there.
Yeah.
Talking about perfectionism, like I know that Steve talked a lot about we have to do it really good because of the people that is listening or watching. How do you balance that with publishing a video or 3 videos per week? Because there will be many people that just listening. And for example, in my podcast, I publish 1 time per 10 days. Like, okay, I'll give you some space just to listen to that podcast, but you do it not daily, but almost daily. And they are huge. How do you balance that?
Yeah, we have an amazing team. So at the start, it was a lot smaller. And then when we changed, I think it was my 2nd month, we upped to 2 episodes a week plus a moment on Spotify. So it's like 2 long form episodes and then a shorter moment, let alone all of the social clips. But it's an amazing team behind it that work at absolute speed. Even putting out 2 trailers a week for the episodes. In the movie world, it would take a year to create a trailer or longer. So it's incredible that they can put one out in a few days. It's just a dream team behind the podcast. But I think the speed as well with experimenting on the side of putting out things is we almost treat it like an MVP. If we're experimenting before, we'll test it as fast as possible, see what happens, and then make it the highest standard when it goes out. So we might be testing behind the scenes, whether it's clips, trailers, see how it goes, and then whatever goes out into the long form is the highest standard possible.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to do it. I know many people that publish like 2 times per week, and the team is almost 10 people working there. How many people are you working in the FSU right now?
So in Flight Story, we have over 100 now, which is amazing. But when and that's across, we have other podcasts. So we have We Need to Talk, Begin Again, and The Line. So 4 podcasts right now. But for the Diary of a CEO, when I started, I think I was employee number 7. So it was very small at the start. And for the last 3-ish years before Flight Story, we had maybe maximum 30 people, and that was across the podcast, our commercial teams, our product. So it wasn't just on the podcast. It's still quite a small team for being the second biggest podcast in the world.
Yeah, it is. But it is still big. It's like, okay, it's not just a podcast, it's a business or even a company. So
yeah, but I think I think that's amazing though, because it shows you don't have to have a team of 500 people to start a podcast. It can be a team of 5, 10, 20 people, and it can still be a really big podcast, which is nice.
Yeah, and talking about growth, if we come back to the 1%, do you have like a list that you wake up every day and say, okay, we need to work in this and this and this, just to let people know how to keep growing a podcast? Like, okay, this is the first thing I will do today and tomorrow. And do you have something like that?
Yeah, but I think in terms of growing a podcast, I think the most important thing is understanding your analytics and the data, because that is what tells you why people are listening, how long they're listening for, where are they enjoying and not enjoying, whether it's average view duration, the comments, how many shares you're getting, really understanding that. And I've seen the best producers, not just in our company, but around the world, that understand the data are the ones who have the best performing shows, because they're really analytical and they understand why did that not work. And Jack, who produces the Diary of a CEO, is amazing at that. He understands exactly why a thumbnail or a title did or didn't work, how we can improve it, and what we can keep working on. And it's the whole data behind the scenes is so valuable to helping you grow. And I think that's really the first step in, instead of just creating a list of ideas, look at what's happening there and understand what is not working, and where you can improve. And there's so many features and online sites and software that can help you understand whatever industry you're in podcasting or in content creation. Can you then learn from other creators of what's working for them, if it's a specific topic, if it's a theme, and be able to learn and grow from that as well and experiment with those.
Nice. Yeah, I got many questions about that because even you are working in a new tool that give you that kind of information, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've seen Mr. Beast has a tool called ViewStats, so specifically for YouTube, and that gives you lots of back-end content, and you can kind of see when people are changing out their thumbnails, understand what's happening there. So there's so many tools like that online, but Mr. Beast one is really valuable.
Okay, and talking about texting, we take it from the outside, we think that Diary of a CEO is working really well, that everything is working perfect. Do you have any example that you tried something and it didn't work?
Yeah, all the time. It's a really interesting one because I've always used the stat, out of say 10 experiments, 7 might come back inconclusive, which means the results kind of didn't really show you anything different or no statistical significance. 2 might fail, 1 might succeed. And I was at a experimentation event last night, a guy called Jordan, who works at booking.com, was speaking, and he said 70% come back inconclusive. So I'm glad we had the same metric. But I think it's really interesting reframing our mindset on the inconclusive and failed experiments, because that is where we're learning most. We're being able to say, that didn't work. I'm learning faster than anyone else because they haven't tried it. So we know what has and hasn't worked, and being able to use that for future experiments. So a lot of ones that fail are if something is maybe too similar. So if you said 2 thumbnails and you were changing out a color, it might not be different enough unless you've tested it hundreds of times to see. If you're just testing one, it might not show it. Or something on your website, if it's not as significant on the website, you might get back an inconclusive result if there's not really any difference. So it happens all the time. 7 in 10 are probably inconclusive. But the reason we keep running those is because that one that's a success, or the failures, we're learning what didn't work and why. And we're able to keep running them again and testing.
And talking about feelings, because sometimes it's difficult to understand if it is working, is not working, as you said, that you have to try like 100 times. But if we talk about feelings, for example, for me from the outside, talking about the driver or even the book that you give after the show, I think that feeling is good, no? Because if Jimmy Fallon is talking about that, it's like, okay, this is working. I mean, this is like free publicity or whatever. So how the feeling or your sense work in this?
Yeah, so that's what we call the 1%. So anything we can't necessarily measure, so those sort of things, the photo book, even when the candle of a nice scent is put on in the podcast studio, it adds to the experience, and hopefully we know it's going to work, but we can't necessarily measure it because we don't have those metrics or the analytics behind the scenes to go that did or didn't work. So we call it a 1% because we know it's contributing to the overall growth. And then an experiment is something we can measure. So it could be on our product website where we're selling the conversation cards. We just launched some yesterday, which is really exciting, a new pack, edition 3. And on there, we're testing lots of things that we can measure. So that's what we see as an experiment, but it doesn't mean that the 1% we can't measure are any less valuable. They're still just as valuable, just different forms of measurement.
Nice. Let's talk about the brand. I love branding. I got a brand that is called Minimalism. So this is my topic, I think, even podcast. If we talk about the brand layer of a SEO, there will be many people thinking just about the podcast. But if I go down that, I see titles, thumbnails, whatever. How do you manage to work with the brand that is going to be in the future? Like, what do you think that is going to be? And clickbait, for example, with a title. Like, okay, this is short term, and what about the long term with the brand? How do you manage that? Because many times when we try to upload something, we say, okay, clickbait in the title, and let's see what happens in the future. But you have to respect the brand that you are building now, no?
Yeah, I think it's a fine line between building things around your brand, definitely, but also building things that the world wants to see. So your brand, you might have a relationships podcast and you are going down this specific route of relationships, whereas actually the world wants to hear about a certain type of relationship. It's understanding what do your viewers or listeners want to actually hear about, and going between that. So a lot of people do it on clickbait or virality, and I think in short term you might get views, but then actually building a brand, building viewers, there's a fine line between actually giving value in the episodes as well, whether that's short form or long form content, and making sure whatever you provide in your podcast episode is actually something that they want and they will stick around for and hit that subscribe button. And I heard Phoebe Gates, she has a podcast called The Burnouts, and she was talking with Gary Vee about this. And they were trying to get new subscribers to their app called Fear. And they thought it's a shopping app online, basically. And they were going to put an Hermes bag in Times Square and get people to scan it to win the Hermes bag. And Gary said a really good point, and he said, you're actually bringing, even though this isn't about a thumbnail or a title, it's about a competition, you're bringing people to your app. You might get a really high volume, but they're not going to be actually quality users at all. They're coming for a competition, they want to win, and then they probably will just leave or bounce. And I think it's a great reminder, whether it's in podcasting, whether it's in paid media or organic media online, when you're promoting something, you could make something go viral, have a really interesting tagline that hooks people in. But if it's not got quality and substance behind it, they're not going to stay and actually consume your brand. So what you want to do is toe the line between still being interesting where you get views, but then I think also having something behind your brand that people want to stay for as well. And remembering, like you say, the brand, what do you stand for and why should people follow you is so important.
Yeah, really interesting. And talking about subscribers, it's easy to hear that in every podcast you say it, Steve said, or me even say that please subscribe to my channel because 60% is not a subscriber. How do you work on that? Could you explain it? Because right now I think there's like 64% of the people that listen to Day of SEO is not a subscriber, and like, okay, let's work on that. No, it's a topic about growth. How do you manage that?
I actually think so. With our call to actions, we always experiment with them because I think it can get really boring when in the old school YouTube days, people used to say like, subscribe, comment, and it just became wallpaper, as Steve says. So we always want to experiment with them. And I was watching, and older, like a few months ago, episode of the Diary of a CEO last week, and I saw the CTA Steve had like a gold coin box with coins falling into it. And we're always experimenting with how do we keep that interesting while still having a call to action, because that's the whole point of marketing. Everything has a call to action in marketing. Otherwise, what are people going to do? They're not going to actually convert or consume or make the action you want them to do. And so I think we're always experimenting with that. But I also think it's interesting on when you have a call to action, how do you make sure people are actually converting from it as well and not just seeing it and clicking and going on? So it's something we take very highly and always use to experiment and see how we can improve it.
Yeah, and it will work like the brand future. Like, okay, we need more followers to bring more people. I don't know if you need more followers now to bring the best people in the world, but it's just an opinion.
I think it's good though as well to have like in when you're marketing or in a brand, you want to have people who aren't subscribed, because we always want to have new people coming in. You don't want 100% subscribe rate, otherwise you've got no new viewers. So I think it's good to have a balance no matter what industry or platform you're on.
That's true. Let's talk, Grace, about AI, because in this event, we talk a lot about AI, like B2B, B2C, even it's really easy just to manage or even think how to apply it. But what about AI in a podcast or in a business behind the podcast?
Yeah, we use it a lot in all different areas of the business. So a few months ago, we actually had an AI agent competition. So for like a 6 to 8 week period, everyone in the team had to try and build an AI agent more to get an understanding of how to use AI. And I think it was one of the most valuable things I've done while I've been here, because I don't have a coding background. I've never been in tech building anything. So to be challenged to try and build an AI agent, learn how the tech works, and then actually build one was really, really challenging, but such an exciting time. And from doing that, it also gets people who may not have been comfortable with AI to challenge themselves and get more comfortable with it. And we use it across every area of the podcast. So from guest booking, so when they're booking the guests, our FlightX team, who are like our innovation department, have built tools to help understand how we can book guests faster and better. To research, they use AI. The production team, the post-production team, our commercial team, everyone is using AI in completely different ways, whether it's an AI tool to help in your emails versus an AI tool to help with thumbnails. It could be anything across the spectrum.
Nice. I think we are all taking notes about that. Just one more question. I don't know if we are okay, Alex, with the time, but for everybody that is listening, I think all of our podcasts are smaller than yours. So could you give us an advice? Like, okay, every time you upload something, just think about it.
Yeah. And also we have other podcasts. The other 3 podcasts that we've started have all started from zero. And so did the Diary of a CEO 5 years ago. So we are on that journey as well with our other podcasts. They're not all the Diary of a CEO size. So we know exactly what it's like starting up a podcast. I think the most important thing is if you have an idea for something, whether it's a thumbnail, your title, even a format or a guest, the best part is to just try it as fast as possible. Try it, see if it works. If you have time, test it before so that you don't waste too much time on trying it. But it's just trying it and seeing if it works. And if it doesn't work, move on to the next thing, and constantly finding ways to iterate and experiment as quick as you can, because that is what is going to help you learn and get faster and grow faster as possible.
Okay, I will apply it next week, I think.
I'll be watching.
Thank you, guys. I think we are done, Alex.
Yeah. We're kind of we don't have much time for questions. Unfortunately, there were quite a few good questions there, but we kind of ran out of time. But I think it was super insightful. And I think, when people think of applying experimentation to many different areas like conversion and stuff like that in websites, it's easier to think about that, but when you think of experimentation in podcasting, it's super difficult. So congrats on that, because you've got such a difficult job. So yeah.
No, thank you. And also, if anyone has questions, I can always chat in LinkedIn if anyone wants to chat after, because I know we don't have time.
Brilliant. So yeah,
Thank you so
everyone
much. Great.
in the comments, just go for it. So thank you, Pepe and Grace. It's been amazing. Thank you very much, and have an amazing day.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Hope your
Thank you,
day goes
guys.
well.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. All right. So our first speaker, he's the head of WordPress YouTube at Automatic, and he's Jamie Marsland. And he's gonna talk about why you should build a YouTube audience and how to actually do it, because that's another thing. So welcome, Jamie.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here today.
Hi, everyone. Right, I've got some slides to show you. So I am head of YouTube at Automatic, but I started my life as a YouTuber, which I'll talk to you a little bit about. I think I've got 20 minutes, 25 minutes. If anyone wants to ask me any questions, you can find me on Twitter or X. My Twitter name is Poodlepress. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. So I know we're quite short of time today, but we'll see how we go. So the title of my talk is why you should build a YouTube audience and how to actually do it. A tiny bit about me. So as I said, I've got my own YouTube channel as well as helping run the WordPress.com YouTube channel as well. And you can find me at Jamie WP. I'm currently around 202,000 subscribers. I've been doing it for a number of years. It's a YouTube channel focused on WordPress, and it's full of tutorials and educational stuff around WordPress. And I've been doing it for, I guess, seriously, probably about 3 or 4 years. And I'm deep into WordPress and YouTube. And as I said, also help out running the WordPress.com channel now, which you can go and find on YouTube. And we're currently approaching 70,000 subscribers, and we're trying to grow that quite aggressively at the moment. I've recently taken over to help that out. I thought I'd start with a few stats about YouTube, because YouTube's absolutely massive, and the reach of YouTube is growing and growing and growing. I've got 3 daughters, and they are all avid YouTube watchers. But here's some stats for you. So as of 2025, YouTube has between 2.5 and 2.7 billion monthly active users. And more than half of everyone who uses the internet, around 122 million people, visit YouTube every day. Absolutely colossal and growing. So something like a third of the world's population uses YouTube each month, and about a half of all mobile internet users visit YouTube monthly. And increasingly, it's coming into the living room as well. So I've got quite a few people that tweet me photos of them watching my videos in their living room. And I personally, now, just watching my own behaviors, I watch more YouTube than probably streaming services. So it's just some slides to show you it's absolutely massive. And there's some other kind of macro things happening out there at the moment as well. And some of you will be seeing this, I'm sure, in terms of the way we're finding and reaching customers is changing. In some senses, it's getting harder and harder in the traditional ways that we've all been doing it, through things like SEO, and how AI search is starting to impinge upon that. And certainly the way the Google search results page has changed and the algorithm has changed over the last few years. I'm seeing a lot of very popular sites seeing their traffic reduce because we've got this thing called zero-click happening, where people are getting the information directly from search engines or LLMs, and so they don't have to visit websites quite so much. So I'm definitely seeing in some situations organic traffic going down. And also what's also happening, attribution's becoming harder in terms of how you kind of value your efforts into brand marketing or marketing as such, because you can't necessarily track a click so much anymore, because you can't do that, because people are getting their information directly from search engines without having to go to your website. So I'm a big believer at the moment in terms of investing. If I was a brand investing in trying to get my message out there, I'd invest in brand building. And I'd also say one of the things that's going to happen over the next 3 years with AI is that trust is going to become one of the most valuable commodity assets of any business. So I would say build trust and brand as much as you possibly can. Invest in those things. And YouTube is an absolutely fantastic place to do that, because it screams authenticity if you do it properly. So I thought it'd be fun just to talk you through some really practical stuff in terms of how I personally grown my YouTube channel over the last 4 years. Now, I should say at the start of this, everyone's journey is different. And one of the beautiful things about YouTube is that it's a place where you can express yourself. And so even though I'm going to give you some things that work for me, one of the nice things about YouTube is that there's lots of different ways to do it. But here are some things that have worked for me over the last 3 or 4 years. And a lot of these have actually been taken from some of the best teachers around YouTube that I've seen out there as well. So this is perhaps the most important one, actually, and it's a very simple one. It's to commit to actually creating videos. So this is what you can see up on the screen here is a spreadsheet that I keep. And this is part of my process in terms of YouTube. And when I started to create on my YouTube channel, I only had about 3 or 4 ideas, and I kept them in a spreadsheet. And now that spreadsheet has, I don't know, about 250 ideas for videos that I really think would be great videos that I want to make. My point here is that you don't worry too much about not having enough ideas to start with. The most important thing is to commit to the process. And if you commit to just 1 video a week and religiously commit to that, then, and don't worry too much about quality at the start, because you're going to look back on them in 3 years' time and think they were dreadful. You will definitely get better. But just having that level of commitment is incredibly important. So commit to 1 video a week, and you will find it's a bit like it's a little bit like a muscle that grows, a creative muscle that grows. Your ideas will start sprouting as you start to explore YouTube more and more. But have that commitment that whatever happens, you're gonna release one video per week, regardless of what happens that week. The other big mistake that I've seen a lot of people making, and I've done this myself, is and especially if you come from any kind of technical background, you get sucked into gear and you've spent hours and hours on getting the best studio set up and getting the best camera and investing in the lights, and you'll do all this kind of you'll distract yourself from actually creating content. And I would say focus almost all your efforts on getting better at storytelling and understanding what storytelling means, and understanding what storytelling means in the context of YouTube, rather than focusing too much on the gear. The gear you can improve over time, but you could literally start with just a phone and get storytelling. And I'll come on to some ideas around storytelling in a few slides time, but try not to get too sucked into creating the perfect studio and saying, I'm going to start creating videos once that studio is ready. I would say just start creating as soon as possible. Start the creative process as much as possible and focus on storytelling. And here's just a couple of recommendations. There are loads and loads of resources out there for storytelling and how to get better at YouTube. These are just 2 of my favorites. There's a fantastic newsletter called Creator Hooks, which is the one over on the left. And it's free. These are all free. And it's a newsletter, but it's also a website. And it just sends you every week or every couple of weeks, it sends you great ideas for creating great YouTube titles and thumbnails, which are going to come on to, and kind of explains why they're good and why they're not good. So it's Creator Hooks. And the guy on the right is a guy called Ed Lawrence, who has a YouTube channel. He's done some amazing videos on how to be a YouTuber, especially around educational content. There are loads more of these out there, but these are just, I thought, be useful for you to, these are 2 of my favorite ones. They give you enormous amounts of value. The other lesson, especially if you're working with if you're in a big brand organization, and this is a quote from Gary Vaynerchuk, which is one of my favorite quotes around creating content. It's content is king, but context is God. And that's incredibly true on YouTube. So YouTube is a completely different platform. Even though it's video, it's a completely different platform and context to TV, for example. And I see a lot of brands making the mistake of creating these incredibly flashy, highly corporate videos that are almost like advertorials that scream advert. And they're beautifully made, but they're not talking the YouTube design language. And I've seen a lot of brands fall into this mistake, because when I'm on YouTube, I'm looking for authenticity and I'm looking for things that I don't necessarily find on TV. So understanding that YouTube is its own thing, and X is its own thing, and Facebook, you're in that context when you're watching Facebook and you expect to see a certain type of content, and LinkedIn as well. So I would say as much as possible, create content that's specifically tailored towards YouTube. And that means not trying to look like in many cases, a sort of traditional TV studio, which puts up, just by the nature of it, it puts up lots of barriers between you and the audience. And what's great about YouTube, it's really about breaking down the barrier, that kind of barrier between you and the audience. So I would say, just remember that quote. Right, I thought it'd be fun as well just to talk you through my process that I go through and some of the ideas behind the time I spend on certain of these areas. This is my personal creative process. It's going to be different for everyone, but there are some key things in here which I would recommend you think about. First one, and we go from left to right. The first one is the idea, and I've got a very simple workflow. I keep all my ideas in just a simple spreadsheet, which I said has now got hundreds and hundreds of ideas, and then I put the idea. And I put the idea in terms of the basic idea, and then over time I hone the title and what's going to be in the video. But essentially it's just a spreadsheet. And then over time, the best ideas start to bubble up to the top. And when I get really excited about one, I know that's probably one I want to start thinking about making a video for. So they kind of just go into a big bucket, and then they bubble up, and then they go into kind of the next stage, which is starting to think about, if I'm going to start to make this video, then the next focus is this bit here, thumbnail and title. And I recommend you spend a lot of time in terms of that bit. This is probably one of the most important bits in terms of the YouTube, in terms of thumbnail and title. So I spend an inordinate amount of time on thumbnails and titles, and I won't proceed to the next bit until I've got that right. And I'm going to dive into thumbnails and titles in a few minutes, and some of the things that hopefully will help you, some tools that will help you. Then it goes into the content calendar, then it's produced, and then then it's promoted in lots of different places and spliced and promoted on socials. I'll also do some pre-promotion on these videos as well, which I'm going to talk a little bit about today. So that's kind of the workflow I go through. It's a very, I guess it's meant to be fairly flexible in terms of the creative process. But the story is kind of the overarching thing above everything here. So story, story, story. At every point, I'm trying to think about what is the story behind this particular video, which I'm going to talk about next. I'm going to focus in on thumbnails and titles, and they are incredibly important for a number of different reasons. And I would say this is probably the most important bit in terms of getting a good video. And it really helps, especially if you're working in organizations or big companies. And I've seen this where this is almost like an afterthought in some companies I've worked with, where actually the video is made and then it goes off, or we need a thumbnail and a title, and that's the wrong way around. This should be, in my view, this should always be the first bit that's done before any kind of video is made, rather than it's sent off to the design team at the end for one. This should be the absolute first thing you do, because this is, an example of what YouTube looks like. And thumbnails and titles are important for two reasons. The first is click-through rate. So when somebody watches one of these, when somebody sees this YouTube screen, are they actually going to click on your thumbnail? So it's important from a click-through rate, which can make a huge difference in terms of how many views you get for your video. But the second thing it does, which is perhaps more important, is it focuses your effort on your ideas behind what that video is about. If you don't have this sorted to the right finesse to start with, then it's very, very hard to create the video, because you don't have the one macro idea about what that story of that video is about. So I'd say always do the thumbnails at the start, and be really disciplined. Be really, really disciplined about that. So they're not just about improving your click-through rates, which is incredibly important. They also sharpen and focus the story that you're telling, and having an obsession around getting the thumbnails right. Like, I'll often spend more time in terms of getting the thumbnail right than actually in terms of time period than making the video, which might sound crazy. So time is often good for these as well. So I'd come up with like an initial idea for the thumbnail and the title, and then give it some time, and you'll improve it over time, rather than trying to do it right at the end of the process. And there's this phrase which I really like, which is great YouTube thumbnails aren't clickbait, they're emotional design. And I love the phrase emotional design, because I think for me, thumbnails are almost like an art form now. And the best ones tap into emotional triggers that make us click to watch. So I've got some tools for you to think about when you're creating great thumbnails. Now, these are taken, some of these ideas are taken from that newsletter that I showed you in the earlier slide. But fundamentally, and this is being a little bit reductive, but fundamentally, there are only really three reasons, three emotional triggers why somebody will ever click on a thumbnail on YouTube. And those are curiosity, hope, and fear. Curiosity, hope, and fear. There's only really three emotional triggers that make somebody click on a YouTube title. Now, it can be just curiosity, or it can be curiosity and hope, or curiosity and fear, or it can actually be all three in some situations. But your video should be targeting at least one of these emotional triggers, and your thumbnail should be targeting at least one of these emotional triggers if you want somebody to watch it. So here we go. I've got some specific examples for you just to give you an idea of how this is actually used in practice. And if you go back to YouTube after this presentation and you keep those three things in your mind and then go look at some videos and thumbnails, you'll probably see that all the popular ones have one of these emotional triggers in them. So let's start with curiosity. I've got some examples for you. So this is a channel called Rick Beato, who's one of the biggest music channels. He analyzes music and teaches people music, and it's a fantastic channel. But this is a great thumbnail because the title is the weirdest and most brilliant Elton John song. And then the thumbnail supplements that in terms of the design, the strangest Elton John song. So it's really playing on the emotions of curiosity. I'm really curious about what this song is, which Elton song is it? And I'm hopeful because I might learn something around why it's brilliant. I'm a guitarist and I'm kind of interested in why that might be a good song. So I'm going to click on, and I'm going to click on that thumbnail. So this is, for me, this is hitting curiosity and hope. This is another really interesting one. Really simple thumbnail. I mean, so simple, but brilliant. And then you can see it's got a whole bunch of views down here. It's got 900, almost 1 million views. And the title's really simple. It's Race Driver Explains Lawson's Driving Style Problem. And then it's got this Y pointing towards the back of the car. And that just screams curiosity to me. It's like I'm mentally looking at that thumbnail and I'm really curious about what his driving style problem is and why that is there. So I'm clicking on that thumbnail as well. A really simple design. This one here, again, this is very famous Diary of a CEO. And again, this plays into curiosity and it plays into hope as well. The psychological trick that makes millions. And down here, the thumbnail title is slightly cut off, but the man that makes millionaires turn $100 to 10K with this step-by-step formula. So this plays strongly into curiosity and hope. Okay, it's a great example of that. But as I said, you can also use fear as a emotional trigger as well. And this is a great example of a fear-based one. So this is curiosity and fear. This is hitting those two emotional triggers. And the thumbnail, again, it's really simple. It's like, and the title is Incognito Isn't Private at All. And so this is playing into, oh crikey, if I'm going incognito, it's a brilliant thumbnail. If I go into incognito on a browser, then it's actually not private. And I'm really curious about why that is. And I'm worried about why that is as well. So it's playing into curiosity and fear. And then a few hope ones for you. This is Ed Lawrence. This is a very hopeful one. So it's you know, you're looking at this thinking, how can I create $1 million YouTube strategy? So that's clearly a hope one. Nice, very simple, clear messaging in terms of the thumbnail design. I thought this was brilliant as well. This is a great example. Just such a simple image for the thumbnail. Literally just a picture of a golf club and then 2 divots, and then he's about to hit the next one. And the title is How to Hit the Ball, then Turf with Your Irons. And you can see it's got almost 7 million views. So again, that is, for golfers, that is a huge curiosity and hope. It's hitting those 2 emotional triggers. You can see why that thumbnail is so effective. So to get a great thumbnail, it isn't really about what design elements you use. It isn't about whether you have a smiling person or big arrows on it. It's about emotional design. It's about taking the idea for the piece of content and trying to hit those 3 emotional triggers. And how you do that visually will vary on the content of the video. And you can see you can have different content styles to suit your brand, but focus on that emotional design. and everything kind of focus on those emotional triggers, and the design should really flow from that. Just to emphasize that, I've got a few more, because I do think thumbnails and titles are incredibly important, because they really help you focus your videos. And here's just a few examples again of curiosity ones. Some of these folks you might recognize. There's one of mine up on the top right here. So just to emphasize, these aren't clickbait. Clickbait for me anyway is when you have a thumbnail and the video doesn't deliver on the promise of the thumbnail. These videos are all delivering on the promise of the thumbnail. So that's, when somebody watches these videos, they're going to get the payoff for watching the video. The title and the thumbnail are perfectly aligned with the video they're going to see. Here's a few more hope examples, and here's a few. I thought this one up here was brilliant. Actually, I had to include this one. Don't touch your car. Do not try to fix your car until you've seen this video, which I thought was a great sort of fear and curiosity one as well. And this golf one down here as well, I thought was brilliant. 7 etiquette mistakes new golfers should try to avoid. Again, that's curious. If you're learning golf, you're going to be incredibly curious and kind of fearful around not making these efforts. So fear is a very strong emotion. I've actually started to collate my favorite thumbnails at this website that I've built called curiositihopefear.com. So if you do want to, and I've rated them by hook score, and I've got whether they tap in, which emotional triggers they tap into underneath as well. It's kind of a growing library of my favorite thumbnails. So often the best way to improve your thumbnails is just to learn from what other folks are doing and what works for them. Here are some more just sort of tools that you can start to use in terms of thinking about your thumbnails and titles as well. So these are sort of check your packaging. So these come from Ed Lawrence, actually, one of the chaps that I said was a great YouTube educator. Your title and thumbnail should suggest that the video covers something significant or highly desirable. It should be easy. It should indicate that the content is accessible and easy to understand. And new is often great. It implies your video offers fresh, updated, or novel information. And it should be trustworthy and not misleading. And your packaging should really, ideally, in the design language that you use for your thumbnails, it should come across. And then the other thing that, especially around educational content, which has kind of been one of my main focuses over the last few years, is think to yourself, sit yourself in the seat of your potential viewers and think about the big questions that they're going to be thinking about before they click on that thumbnail or when they click on that video. And I put some of the questions in here. What will I learn from this video? Is it relevant to me? How will it solve my problem? Does it offer me something unique compared to others doing the same sort of thing? Is it just informational? So these are questions I would ask about when you're starting to script and write your video as well. The other thing that I found really, really useful is to use social media. And I'm kind of X is where I'm kind of most active, I guess, to start to test some of your video ideas. So going back to the ideas bucket, what I'll often do is before I commit to making that a video or before I commit to making the thumbnail, I'll often create a piece of content, short form content, like a tweet or something like that, and post it out and see whether that video idea actually gets much engagement on X. And then that's kind of like a tick for me. If I know that it's getting a lot of engagement and I know a lot of people are interested in that subject, then I can kind of move on to the next stage. It's also a really good way of pre-promoting whether you're going to be, when you actually make that video as well, because if you get a lot of engagement, you can then put a link to that video in the kind of tweet thread that you get engagement on. This is a common one that I've done in the past, is asking people to choose the best thumbnail, which is a really nice way to get kind of feedback on, well, one, it's going to test engagement, but it's also going to give you some feedback, and it's a good way of getting people to comment. And then I would say if you can't get to a point where you're really, really happy with the thumbnail and the title and they work together well, I would say don't make the video. If you can't get that sorted out and you're not happy with it, you probably don't have a video that's going to get a lot of engagement. So I would say focus on the thumbnail and title. Here's a few tools in terms of storytelling tips that you can start to think about as well when you're creating content. I'm going to skim fairly quickly along these. But we have this concept. You see a lot of people when they're talking about YouTube of hooks and loops. I'm just going to talk about what these are. So a hook, we'll start with hook. Hook you'll often hear about, and it's kind of the first 10-15 seconds of the video. It's kind of the attention grabber. it's like the first thing that they're going to see, the viewer's going to see, that's going to keep them hooked in to watch that video. And it should, in my opinion, it should be completely allied to the thumbnail. So what you don't want to have is a thumbnail, and then when they watch the video, it's something completely separate to the thumbnail. That will just get people switching off because they clicked on that thumbnail for a reason. So it needs to be allied to the thumbnail, but it is the attention grabber at the start. It's like something surprising or big or interesting or question that hooks them in to watch the video. And a hook can be really subtle as well. It doesn't have to be like a shouty thing. It could be a very elegant and beautiful thing, but it's that emotional hook that gets them involved in it. And there's this other great concept that a lot of YouTubers think about when they're creating their stories is a loop. And a loop is hints at something that you're going to reveal later. It's kind of a question that you drop into the story at some point, and it's going to be delivered on at some point later on. And you can have multiple loops that you open up within your stories that keep people engaged and increases retention as you go throughout your video. So essentially, hooks pull viewers into your videos, and loops keep them from clicking away. And you can use them. These are just kind of meta things, I suppose, but you can use them on all sorts of different video formats. But again, it's coming back to your story. Think about your story and what is the story of the video. This is a good tool, especially for anyone out there who's creating lots of educational content. And this is the best framework I found for creating educational content. It's from Richard Feynman. And I've used it a lot in the WordPress content that I've created. So you pick a topic, and then your job really is to explain it as simply as possible, as if you were explaining it to a child. And I see that a lot of nobody will ever not like you for explaining things simply. So I see a lot of people, the technical people as well, that worry that they need to look more intelligent than they need to. And actually, your job is not to come across as intelligent. This is my advice anyway. It's to make your viewers the heroes. It's to make them feel intelligent. So explain it simply as if you were explaining it to a child. This is the process of how you create your content, by the way. Find gaps in it and learn what you missed. So if you can't explain it really, really simply, go back and relearn it, and then explain it again as if you were explaining it to a child, and then rewrite it again, clearer and shorter. And I'm obsessed around, on my YouTube channel, I'm obsessed around people's time and trying to make the content as short as possible and get the information across in the best, clearest possible way in the shortest time possible. And I heard this quote only last week or a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was perfect. So I put it in here. And I think it's a great way to think about YouTube content. So, and brand marketing and marketing in general at the moment. And it's those who tell the best stories in the fewest words will win. There's kind of bit extra on here, which I haven't put, which is, and make your customers the heroes of the stories, not you, which I also heard the other day, which I thought was a great way of phrasing it. And I think that's right, especially in the age that we're about to go into with AI. Here's a few specific things that I've done in terms of accelerating the growth of my YouTube channel. Within YouTube, you can actually promote videos now, which is a great way. There's a little tool within YouTube where you can put some money in and promote videos. It's a great way of promoting organically your content. So this is not Google Ads. This is a tool within YouTube where you can actually promote a particular video to specific demographics and locations. And then also, I'm talking about my own channel here and some of the things I did on my own channel to grow it. Mini series were great for me. I came up with a number of different formats and concepts that really helped accelerate my channel. Here's just a few of them. These were around educational content around WordPress. So I came up with this format, which was called the WordPress Speed Build Challenge, where I got 2 players and they came online at a certain time and they had to recreate a famous website in 30 minutes. So it's a fantastic bit of fun. This one here, these are 2 of my 3 daughters that appeared on my channel quite a bit, and I would give them a WordPress tool and a certain amount of time, and they're kind of WordPress beginners, and so it was kind of reaction to them trying to use these tools. Again, a very quite a unique format. Got a lot of traction. And this other one where I created myself, I would go off and create famous websites using WordPress, and it could be any website, and so within a certain amount of time. So I came up with these different formats which were repeatable, so people kind of expected to see them. So that's a really nice way to kind of get people coming back to your channel. And then finally, because I'm almost out of time, a few important final points, which are just some learnings from me. The first one is you can't please all the people. You will get, if you're doing your job properly, you will get some people not liking your content, which is just normal, and be prepared for that. But in my experience, just keep this phrase in the back of your head, which is everything is content. So even though people might not like your content, you can use that to create new content. So this is just an example over on the right here. You can see that some people were slightly critical of my speed build format, and you can kind of turn it into content. So even though you're going to get haters, it's you can still use it as content. So just remember that, be creative around the content, the things you get, and then include cats. So one of the things I did, which proved really, you can't actually see the cat on the screenshot, but at the end of most of my videos, I have a call out that every time somebody likes my video, my cats get a little treat, and then I roll a video of my cats getting a little treat with some crazy contraption. In this case, you can kind of see it, but a tin of fruit is rolled off the table after somebody's liked it, and it's hit some cat food, which hits the floor, and then my cats come into the video and they eat the video. And so at the end of every video, my cats kind of appear in my videos, in my YouTube channel, my personal channel, and people absolutely love the cats, and they get a lot of love and attention in comments, and a lot of people like the videos and they get shared purely because of the cats. And then I've come up with a number of different scenarios where the cats get treats at the end of all my videos, where different things happen. So simple stuff like that, that's fun, people really love. You can be very creative. And then the final slide is another really simple tool that you can use. It's a big opportunity at the end of your video to point your viewers to another of your videos. And if it's in the natural flow of that video, so you've watched this video, if you found this useful and you want to find the next thing that's really useful for you, then you can watch this video. So it's a big opportunity to have a call to action at the end of the video where you point them to more of your content, so they start to see more and more of your content. So there's hopefully some useful tools for you in your YouTube exploits. And that's me done. Alex, are you there?
Thank you very much, Jamie. Yeah, so that was 100% a complete guide on how to actually grow on YouTube. So thank you very much for that. I actually wrote down the part of the cat, so the cat trick. So
yeah,
I'll make sure I do that if I get on YouTube. So thank you very much.
Great stuff.
We've got a couple of questions from the audience. One of them is thanks. Well, she says, thanks, Jamie, for sharing your own journey. My question is, how do you decide which ideas make it from the bucket to production? I think you actually mentioned that on the Twitter part, right? Like the X part.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I mean, part of it is things are changing so quickly at the moment in terms of my field and technology that often it's dictated by what's kind of the zeitgeist of that particular week. But historically, for my own channel, it's been kind of the stuff. This is where it's fun. It's kind of the stuff that gets me most excited, honestly.
100%.
Yeah.
We've got another question from Daniela. It says, how do you balance the need to create highly clickable thumbnails with thumbnails that accurately reflect the content, ensuring people who click actually stay and complete to watch time?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, it comes back to just having a clickbaity, you could come up with the most clickbaity thumbnail, and it doesn't actually do your video any good at all, because if somebody watches that, they're not going to watch it for very long. So it's really, the data will show you, if you're creating really clickbaity thumbnails, which I don't recommend you do, then they're not going to stay around and watch the video, and your retention will go horribly down. So, and it's also the kind of the style of your channel, what kind of the brand impression that you want people to have of your channel. Like at the moment with WordPress.com, we have this incredibly beautiful design aesthetic in terms of our designers, and yet we still got to get this. We still want to get higher click-through rates. So there's kind of this beautiful friction between trying to create this emotional design from our brand, which is quite a strict brand discipline, which we're kind of working through some of that stuff at the moment. But it's definitely possible to do that. I'm not sure that's answered the question, but just the data will show you. The data will show you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, for being here today. It's been super interesting to listen to you. So yeah, thank you very much, and have an amazing rest of the day.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so we're gonna move on to one of the final sessions of today. Right now, we're going for a roundtable about e-commerce, because as you may know, e-commerce is under lots of pressure right now. So we're gonna talk about how we can do different things to kind of counter that. So let's welcome Jorge Cano. Hello, Jorge.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Alex.
He's the founder, CEO of Velara, and he's gonna be moderating this roundtable.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jorge. Let's also welcome Michiel, the Dorjee. He was actually one of the first speakers today, and he's the director of digital experience at Optimizely. Welcome.
Great. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back again. And our last guest is Rodrigo Poblacion. He's the account executive, one of the account executives, at Clavillo. So welcome, Rodrigo.
Hola, hello everyone.
So I really hope you have fun and debate a lot. And yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Thank you, Alex. And hi, everyone. Thank you for having me again in the Product Hackers Conference. My name is Jorge Cano. I'm founder of Velara. We are a house of brands focused on managing and scaling business in the lifestyle category across Europe. And over the next hour or 45 minutes, I'm not very sure because we're running a bit short in time, I will be moderating this panel about e-commerce under pressure and how brands are reinventing themselves when consumers aren't buying like they used to, right? We will be exploring about how data, experimentation, and customer experience can help us to stay relevant for the brands and find new ways of paths. And with that in mind, I would like to introduce my fantastic panelists. I know, Michiel, you've been speaking early today, but for those who are not investing their time properly, I missed your talk, would you mind introduce yourself and talk about what you're doing in Optimizely?
Only if I can use the same joke that I did in my talk earlier.
Okay, go for it.
And that's, I always say, so Optimizely, if you don't know the name, we do like A/B testing software. We have a CMS. We do a bunch of different things. And now our AI, a bunch of different things. And I always jokingly say I'm our own best and worst customer because we use every one of our own products for ourselves. That's my job. But I also pay for nothing. So there you go.
Okay, great. Rodrigo.
Buenos días. I'm Rodrigo. I'm just an account executive. I'm not a CEO, CTO, or I don't have any other title. And I joined Klaviyo about 5 months ago, and after working for years at Salesforce, so I can say that I moved not only because Klaviyo is incredible growth and potential, but because I see a very strong fit between the solution and the Spanish market, especially for SMB, which it represents in Spain is the 90% of the company, because I guess there is people from everyone all around the world, right? Just to talk about a little bit more about myself, I've been working with business for many years, helping them choose the right technology to become more productive and efficient. And I wouldn't call myself the biggest e-commerce expert. I haven't launched my own e-commerce yet, but I've learned from a lot of agencies, partners, working closely with the industry, so I understand a little bit the challenge of every day. And thank you, of course, Jorge, because I told you that I'm really proud. I'm really proud of being part of Product Hackers because I've been following Product Hackers for 7, 8, 9 years. I don't remember. I even have the book from Growth Hacking of Luis Dedo, the Go. So I'm really proud to be part of these events.
All right, thank you both. It's very great to have you here. I would like starting by just putting some context about which is my vision. And actually, I talked to you guys before this talk about sharing our, let's say, thought about e-commerce and where we're at. Because those who are working in this space have seen an immense growth over the last 5 years, especially after pandemic. Many brands, as I would like to say, surf this growth digital skyrocket or whatever. And suddenly digital business become a priority for every kind of enterprises, retail brands, fashion brands, and it started to become a default in their strategy, right? But it's true that times are changing. So we saw this peak in 2020, 2021. And even though I think the e-commerce is growing in a very healthy way, in double digit, actually in the main regions, we can talk about Europe, China, or US, what I can see is the things are changing very fast. And now there are more competitors than ever. The digital inventory has become super expensive. Customer acquisition costs are super high. And now we have a lot of, let's say, big brands, big marketplaces focusing on countries and categories, which is making this space more competitive and harder for those brands who had a solid proposal value 3 years ago, and now the playbooks that worked 3 years ago are not working today, because now you need to be in TikTok Shop, you need to be excellent in marketplace, you need to be excellent segmentation, you need to capitalize the AI. If not, you miss the train. And with all this in context, I would like to starting by asking you, as you guys are talking on a regular basis with brands, I would like to ask you, which are the first signals that you can see in those companies where definitely their consumers' momentum has changed and now they have a challenge, right? Which are the main signals? It's about traffic decreasing, it's about competitors.
I would say definitely traffic decrease. Like I said this in my talk earlier too. Even we, and we're a B2B brand, are seeing this, right? But I think because not just the way that we produce stuff for products and how we display them online and build these e-commerce platforms ourselves, like in D2C or with third-party marketplaces, but also the way that consumers explore these products, even for the highest end of fashion brands, is that drastically changing, and how people kind of explore across different sites. So I think it's more shifted towards you needing to be everywhere, like you mentioned before too, right? Being on TikTok Shop and all these different locations, versus trying to pull every bit of commerce towards yourself. Those initial touch points often happen offsite, right? Before someone takes a purchase decision, they might not even be walking into your store anymore, virtual or physical. So yeah, I think making sure that all that, how you're being displayed on other places as well, is very important. And tracking how often you are cited and shown in all these other places is critical too. So even if you do not own the channel, just making sure that you're at least aware of how your products are being displayed within your owned context and those third-party contexts is much more important. Because if product information is not correct, like, you're not going to sell any products. It's that easy.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, tracking is key. It's completely key to be reactive or even proactive, right? And it's where
Right.
brands and teams should focus on, right? As soon as you see the signal, you need to activate tactics to allow not to slow down.
Yeah, correct. So typically within our customers, like, we do obviously do a lot of testing and optimization. You definitely see the experience for people when they actually do get to your site drastically changes, right? So the way that we lay out these e-commerce pages, and because we only really focus on D2C channels, right? So and B2B obviously, but you have to be within your own app or digital experience. So some of our big customers, for instance, are Nike or H&M or Zara. All these customers kind of build their own experience and try to pull people in. And I think the reason that they succeed at that is because they go everywhere and make sure that those initial touch points look really good. And then by offering a good experience with the products and kind of the unpackaging and all that stuff and building that relationship with them, people tend to gravitate more towards their direct platforms. And then they can obviously, in the repeat purchases, get a lot more value from these customers. And I don't think that experience is changing. I think the way that we build it and the way that people want to engage with us is changing, but I still think people want that direct engagement with brands. Like, I do not think the best place to buy a t-shirt is on ChatGPT. At least not today. Like, maybe in the future, but yeah.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rodrigo? What do you see on a regular basis when talking to brands about it?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I was thinking about. I think it's something, at least in Spain, it's something operational. Like for a small and medium business, the first sign doesn't always show up in revenue. No, they appear in two things, like the customer signals, no, and the rhythms of the team. You start seeing fewer repeat purchases, lower engagement, or customer taking longer, no, to come back. But also, what I'm seeing, or that's the feeling I'm having with the Spanish business, is inside the team. No, priorities start changing too often. There is less focus on customer testing new ideas and keeping up with the customer. No, I think those are the early warnings that our brand is losing connection. No? It's not always a crisis. It's a sign that clarity and consistency are missing inside the companies. So they are not able, no, to keep with the consumer momentum, no, to be there. I don't know if it's, or I can say that maybe it's technology, maybe it's the mindset, it's a combination. I don't know. That's what I think, from my side.
Yeah, no, I think it's a group of everything, but definitely speed here is key. Speed, I mean, when it comes to take actions, right? Because I'm seeing that for me today, it's still very challenging to have a proper measurement strategy in your digital space due to it's growing on a regular basis, right? Your go-to-market change on a regular basis, new channels, new segmentations, new key players, competitors, and it's very hard to adapt your value proposal and also your go-to-market, right? Which takes me to the next question, which we are kind of answering already, which is when growth slows, in your experience, where should brands start? Let me reformulate the question. Where should reinvention start? It's about product. It's about that go-to-market. Is the digital operation model? Is it mix of everything?
I think it's a channel mix. It's pricing and packaging. It's operations. It's all of it. I think a lot of the things that you mentioned earlier, they're like the rapid shifts, all those things. The practice of it has not changed, right? It's just that we need to do so much more of it, and we expect a lot more things in a lot shorter window to happen. Like we need to be more personalized, more direct with our consumers, and adapt our product strategies much faster. That's an operational problem. Like we have to look at how we're actually executing on that within our teams and how we can react and adapt more quickly. I think the risk is that we aim too much towards how easy it has become to create these things, like generating new product copy with AI, these things, and we focus too much on the actual quantity of the things when the quality is really the issue. And I think there's basically no room anymore for low quality content or product information and all this other stuff. So when people do engage with you, it just needs to be the highest bar, best quality experience, I think, than anything else. And I think you can use AI more, and we're not seeing enough of that yet, where people are using things like AI to help achieve that. So personalization is always the best example. Just sifting through. So for instance, I always take as a marketer, I'm pretty stupid as a marketer. When I go to my homepage and I want to personalize a section on our site, right? We show logos, for instance, on our homepage. Every SaaS company has this, what companies we work with. My mind would say, okay, I should show that section different for each user group that I have, for instance, and what channel maybe people came from Google, from Facebook, from different channels. Turns out that's not the main thing that people want to see. It turned out the geolocation, if I'm in Germany versus Spain versus the US, I want to see different companies that are local to me. And trying to figure that part out and then setting it up in a way where that could even change over time, where I don't take a final decision and like lock it into place and then don't look at it again, but kind of incorporating that agility into the process is super key. And you can only really do that if you capture better, more high quality first party data and then try to enrich that with third party data instead of just going to third party platforms. And I think you're seeing more and more people try to use platforms like Facebook and Google and all these other places to drive people to their platforms as a way to capture data and incorporate that into personalized experiences as well. Where before we just said, you came from Google, here's a different, we'll match the ad copy that you saw on Google. Here it is again on the landing page, which, works But if you want to click in one further, you need to figure out what the driver and what the intent of people is. What did they want to do with your product? Why did they care about your brand? And can you use that to incorporate that, not just in that one page and one piece of copy, but what products you recommend them next? When they go back to the homepage, are you repeating that messaging, right? And bring it that context, like you should be seeing umbrellas when it's raining outside, can really help drive, I think, more engagement and conversion. Just kind of understanding the customer. So we work, for instance, Chick-fil-A is a company that we work with. And every time you go to their website, even if you go right now, they adapt their homepage based on the time of day. And they explain that it's not really just about saying, like, it's nighttime, like, hi, go buy a sandwich. It's what context people are in and what the distance for customers is from one of their stores. Like, are you bringing sandwiches home to your family is very different from you need a late night snack. And trying to incorporate those different intents into their platform has really helped increase their engagement. So I think trying to figure that out and not focusing as much on the demographic aspects, but more on the intent data and behavior is, I think, the next phase for people.
Yes, it seems obvious, but still fine-tuning your audience seems a big challenge for the brands. I've got this experience about working in the pet food where 70% of the business is dogs food. But we have a 30% of the audience, cat owners. And every time that cat owners went to our homepage, they were seeing dogs, right? Which it doesn't make sense. And it seems to be very obvious. But sometimes I think it's a big pending topic, right? For the brands to start fine-tuning and put a lot of focus on the audience. And I strongly believe of what separates the brands who adapt it to those who don't do it. It's the difference between the success and the fail, right? So, Rodrigo, what is your take here?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, no? Like when brand slows down, no, most people think reinvention means changing the product, launching something new. But in my view, sometimes it's just like they go to the basics, no? Like first step is trust, clean data, transparency, and clear communication. No, if you lose that, nothing else works. Second one is like understanding, no? As Michael was saying, understanding your customer, connecting all your data so you really know who buys when and why, no? And then comes that Klaviyo's part, no? The smarter communication, using automation to speak at the right time, in the right channel, not just sending more message, no? Just personalization, giving value, and that's the last one, no? The personalization, no? Giving value, not robotic, but emotional message, no? Showing that you understand the people. When these steps are solid, growth come back naturally because customers feel connected again, no? And I know that I sell technology, but a lot of times in the Spanish market is go through to have technology inside the company, inside your business, because it's true, the brands that adapt fast are the ones that already have a strong foundation and they know their data, they understand their customer, and they trust their own channel. No, when your data is connected and clean, you can test new ideas quickly. That's something from product hackers, no? Like try and measure and see what are the results, and you can make a small decision, no? Every week instead of waiting for a big change every quarter. So I think, so speed, no? Speed doesn't come from doing more. It comes from having a healthy tech base and a culture of small, fast experiments, no? So let's say, go to the basics and help you with technology to grow, no? To go fast.
Definitely.
I really like that. I mean, we did a huge data study last year around like 127,000 experiments that we ran, and we analyzed what does Nike do, what do all these companies do, and what works. And one of the things within that was that, more advanced, smaller segmented, more rich experiments outperformed some of the broader ones. So yes, you can achieve statistical significance to measure like how an experience outperforms, but actually if you know your customer sets and you're combining these audiences together, like how Rodrigo said, to give you a quick representation of that, if I target all of the visitors on my homepage and I show them two different versions, I'm sure to measure within like 2 weeks, like I can increase sales with 10 additional purchases. But if I'm able to narrow that down and say, okay, before I actually start that experiment, I'm going to figure out what issue is that I'm solving. And it turns out that just mobile visitors had that issue just in the EMEA region. And I targeted that group first and then only showed them that experience and still was able to net that 10 additional sales. Then I have 90% of the rest of my traffic left over to do other things with. And it just creates so much more bandwidth and space to test these other things. So I think it's super critical to use the tools at your disposal, and especially nowadays where it makes it a lot easier to sift through huge data sets and even help you develop some of these experiences, that you try to find where those opportunities are and action on them quickly. Like set up ways to trigger when these events happen, or if you're using platforms like we use Clarity, for instance, for like heat mapping and session recording, if there is frustration in a certain page, make sure that you set up those triggers and you know where those issues are happening and with which customer data you have on them, and then can target and fix these experiences for people.
Yes, fully agree. Let me quickly recap. By the way, I would like to know if in the audience, how many people in the audience is working in the e-commerce space. If you can say hi in the chat, it would be very great. It's always nice knowing who is listening to you. So let me quickly recap. For the audience, if the best way to identify signals of customer momentum decrease is to set a properly measurement, let's say, project or a stack, which allows you to identify how your customers iterating in your digital assets, and then maximize the use of first-party data, content, and segmentation. First-party data and content is key. I mean, it's king. It's the new goal, right? And obviously, fine-tuning this segmentation is a must. So at the end of the day, we are in the AI era, but we are still discussing about basics, right? Because we see that many companies still don't fit that basics, and they like to talk about complex strategies, complex segmentations, but at the end of the day, they are not still showing which is the right product for the customer, right? So I think that is a good point, because sometimes we like to look at the future, think about very complex things, but e-commerce at the end of the day is about having a solid proposal and make sure what your customer want to give it to them, and have the capability to react on time and shape, right? Because it's about speed. I fully agree. So here, you guys work in two companies, we manage a lot of data, experimentation is core, automation. So how can data and testing drive smarter decisions and quicker decisions?
I think it's important that you set up hypotheses first. So defining user problems and what you're actually solving. So defining, like that we say always, if, then, because. So if this thing happens, then this other thing will result in it because of this reason. So if you put it in that format, you're actually tackling problems. So if I, give you an example, a huge psychology thing that e-commerce sites do a lot, and there's a reason for it. Even if you have your own e-commerce platform, you likely have this feature. There's a reason there is an add to cart and an add to favorites. You would argue that the simplicity of not having that and just having an add to cart with a really big flashy button that's like jiggling on the page that you have to click would increase the add to carts. But as it turns out, when you give people options, that can sometimes result in higher click-through rates and conversions and purchases. And because the people that did that and tested it on their site have now proven that, you're seeing that more rolled out across the industry and more people use that. And sometimes we don't even think about why we're doing some of these things anymore. To give you like an example from my own life, if I say I should go to the gym or not go to the gym, it's very easy to say no. But if I say, should I go 5 minutes or 30 minutes? I'll be like, okay, I'll go 5 minutes. And then I end up going 30 anyways. It's much easier to say yes to a choice like that when you give people two options. So it's actually not that more people add things to favorites and come back later like you might think. It even increases the amount of purchases for add to cart and doesn't distract from that experience. You would only know that by testing and by setting up those experiences. Traditionally, I would say up until 6 months to a year ago, you would have to fully code all those experiences yourself, right? So you have to score them based on a priority and impact and do all those things and kind of trying to figure that out. I still think you should do that to figure out what things you should tackle first. But that last step of getting a developer to actually implement this has now become a lot easier, where there's a lot of tools, including ours, but there's many others out there like it, that can help you actually get some of this stuff implemented. So even if you have a design or don't even have a design yet, if you have ideas, is to speed up that execution to actually get that stuff live, because the faster you can prototype these experiments, the better. For instance, we saw a customer recently test gift wrapping options. Now that the holidays are coming up, they created what we call this a painted door test. So it's actually like how you would envision a house where just the door is painted, but behind that there's no house. So they would offer that option in the checkout to say, I would like to gift wrap, and pick an option of gift wrapping. But they just try to figure out, are people even interested in an option like that? Would people pay more to do this? So they presented the option, and when people clicked it, they put up a pop-up that said, I'm sorry, this option is sold out. Even though they didn't actually have that option, they just wanted to test and see how many people would even be interested in an option like that, and if an upsell was possible. And that allowed them to kind of rapidly iterate and build these things much quicker than they would have if they would have, changed their gift wrapping options and went to logistics and purchased a bunch of different gift wrapping paper and then done all this stuff. So there's definitely ways that you can pull some of these business decisions forward and see if you can change your experience much more rapidly to adapt to customer behavior. So that would be my definite advice: just make the problems smaller, write them out correctly, and try to implement them much faster.
Yeah, good one. Rodrigo, what is your take here? What is the best way to turn these insights into actions, and how do you think is the best way to approach it?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar because I guess you say a lot of things.
That's good.
That's good. We agree. I think we're reinforcing our convictions about how to make things better, right?
I saw a couple of bullet points just to highlight, to say, like, for example, you don't really need a huge analytics team, to do this kind of thing, because we have a lot of tools that is helping you with AI, of course. I don't want to sell my book, Jorge, but Klaviyo also can give you segments, a recommendation, or what's going on in the industry, because maybe you don't know what should be the open rate, the click rate, the bounce, any KPI that is important for you, right? So I was saying, like, I think insight only matter when you turn into action, and the best way to make it that happen is through automation. That was I was saying, like, many teams still spend too much time collecting and reporting data, but not enough time using it. That's why technology makes the difference, like insight, action, learning. For example, if you see that repeat customers buy again after 45 days, you don't just write it down. You create a flow that sends a friendly reminder around day 40 that what about if you buy this, or what this is our recommendation. So the goal is to spend less time doing repetitive work and more time understanding what the data is telling you and using it. So yeah, it's not just about saving time. It's about making sure every learning becomes a real business improvement, right?
I mentioned that at my talk earlier too, but I'll repeat the quote because I think it applies here. But we always love this thing where people say, like, the AI should work on automating the laundry and dishes, not the art and creativity. Like, I don't want the AI to make the art for me. I should focus my time on the efforts on making sure that you automate the things that are repetitive and tedious and administrative. Nobody likes those things. Let's not use humans to stand on the production line and add rivets to a piece of metal. Like, the more you can automate for those things, the better.
Yeah, I actually got a point here, because in the last 15 years, I've been working in different companies. I work in luxury environment, and I work in pet food, right? Which is nothing to do from a brand approach or from a branding point of view, right? And here my concern is that how we can deliver personalizations that really feels authentic. Because, for instance, I guess that most of you, I'm receiving on a regular basis many mails, automatic mails from sales manager for many companies, because I know there are amazing AI B2B sales team, which allows you, enterprises, SaaS, to contact people, to generate pipeline. But at the end of the day, is not authentic, right? And you need to be very careful when depending on your proposal as a brand, right? Because I'm very fan of the automatizations, but I think it's not for everyone, and you need to understand how to use it and when to use it, and not just to, okay, I'm gonna be saving whatever 20K my marketing budget this quarter, because now I don't need to be briefing the agencies, because now I can be generating creativities, digital assets in automatic way, right? But at the end of the day, I think we need to balance, right? Balance the strength and the capability that the technology offers us, and the authentic and this one-to-one marketing that we like to have, right? For instance, in the luxury environment, it's all about clienteling still in a retail store, right? And inviting customers to know the collection and the physical world, right? So here my concern is, how do you guys think is the best way to approach this versus, right, between automatic and personalized?
Creativity is like, that's what we should be spending our time on, right? We said that before too. So just to name an example I have a really good example for you from the pet foods industry. We work with Chewy a lot in the US. They're not very international, but they're very big pet foods, like, and other stuff. Yeah, Chewy's huge. I can bet you the thing, if I ask random consumers what they remember about Chewy, is that they do not remember an abandoned cart email from Chewy. Like, that does not build a relationship with them. The thing that they will remember is that Chewy sends your pet, when you put them in their platform, a birthday card every single year in the mail for your pet. And I think just that fact that it's that personal, and they create this relationship about you and your pet and make you feel special, and like make that customer the hero, as we heard earlier in a talk, I think is really special. And no AI could have told you to do that thing. So you can use AI to execute on some of these things and make that faster, but the creativity in coming up with a campaign like that is much more impactful than, the short-term purchase win that you would have gotten from that abandoned cart email. So really trying to think about not increasing the quantity of those things. Like, the goal is not to send an email every day and send a push notification every day and overwhelm consumers and drown out every other brand. The thing is try to find these really meaningful moments within your data, like a pet's birthday, and then trying to figure out how you correctly hook and action off of these things to make the customer feel special. And sometimes that might result in AI. A lot of times it will not. So
focus on creativity and leverage technology for the execution. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, we'll still have, 10 minutes. I don't know how we're running on time. Alex, if you can let us know, because I'm a little bit lost. But I have the last block is about the future, right? So I would like to talk about the future of growth on e-commerce, and based on your vision and experience, what will define the next generation of successful e-commerce brands? Efficiency, creativity, smart use of data, AI.
Yeah, I think
I can
next. Yeah, go for it.
Just, of course, I have to talk about AI. And Jorge, I have to say something about Klaviyo, because
by the way, disclaimer, I love Klaviyo and I love optimizing.
Me too. We work with Klaviyo, so
yeah. For me, two fantastic tools. So this is not a commercial event, but I like it.
No, it's because it's something we talked yesterday, Jorge.
No problem.
I say like many other companies, Salesforce or Klaviyo, is investing in a lot into adding AI, to our platform. And what I really like about the vision of Klaviyo is the future is that it's focused on helping the small, the SMB business, people who don't have time, as I was saying, technical skills or big marketing team, right? The idea is that you will only need to add your website, for example, the logo or a short description, and Klaviyo or the AI will automatically create your flow, segments, campaign, emails, SMS, events for WhatsApp without needing an agency. What I mean is not the agency is going to disappear, but probably a lot of 80%, we have a study about the situation of the AI with agencies. For example, 80% will have to adapt or die, because all these tools are going to do a lot of the part of what agencies are doing for the customers, right? So maybe the big ones not, but the small ones maybe is going to have to struggle in the future. And another thing something that many of our customers are asking for, which will really help them keep customer momentum, as we were saying, is the context. they were saying like, I don't have the context of my customer. Okay, so for example, I hope Klaviyo's AI will have something like, I will give brands insights about what's happening around their customer, what's trending on Instagram or TikTok, or even what's the weather or in the city, like if it's raining or it's sunny, because maybe I'm selling sunglasses, right? So with that context, with that AI that is creating all my campaigns, all my content and everything, and know the context of my customer, I just have to click to start a campaign or to start a flow, to do whatever I want, and I don't need someone else. So it's giving me all the information. It's going to be really easy. As I was saying at the beginning, I think we have a problem in Spain of productivity, operational. Like we don't have time. We do everything. Yeah, an entrepreneur does everything inside a company, So it's going to help us to be focused on the real important things, And there is another funny example that I like, that I was talking to you, Jorge, the one from the Louvre that was robbed recently, the company with the lifting truck that the thieves used to climb, to go to rob the the museum. They do an ad the next day saying like something like, for when you need to move fast or something like that, Because that's exactly what I mean, to be reactive with the marketing, to know the context and the moment of your customer, and to be able to do a campaign without help or to having to pay a huge agency to help you, to do this, or to have a big team.
Wow, this is huge, right? Having that capability to understand what's going on right now in the social space, and starting having these agents creating campaigns and putting the creativity team doing their best to create the best assets, and now click the button to execute the campaigns, right? That is definitely huge. All
Yeah,
right.
I would agree. I think that's the future. It's being more reactive to when things happen in the space, whether it's in your own data set or third-party signals, and then being able to react and act on those quickly. So I agree with that fully.
But here my concern is that if everyone has, I mean, at the end of the day, the technology, the barrier to access the technology is lower than ever, right? I mean, every brand now can have a solid technology stack. Right? It's not like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I remember when I started in the e-com business, to launch a proper website, multi-country, having an A/B testing tool, it was more intensive in CapEx than is today, significantly more, right? And now the technology and the pricing of the assets has become more accessible for everyone. But wow, here my concern is how brands should rethink growth in a world hyper fragment, when the attention is very fragile and everyone has the capability to do things like the Louvre, or I don't know how to pronounce the mission, right?
We say that in a world of abundance, what do you prioritize? Yeah. That's a really good question. Like, if it's so much easier to do so many things, does that mean you should be doing more things? It's like, no, you should focus more on the things that you should be doing. And you should use AI to increase the quality, not the quantity. That's what I always try to focus on. So try to find really those interesting nuggets that would have been hard to find otherwise, like those good intent signals. And then even if the complexity traditionally would have been high to execute on something, that part has become easier now too, right? The goal is not, I call this AI slop, right? Is to generate a whole bunch of things for every single customer. The goal is to find the right signals at the right time and act on them quickly. So prioritization, I think, is more important than ever. If anything is possible, like, you have to prioritize.
Yes, definitely. Okay, I took a lot of notes, and I'm gonna tell my AI agent to recap these notes, and I will share it with you guys. But okay, we talk about monitorize what is going on your digital environment, to leverage the first-party data, content skin, experimentation is a must. Be reactive; it's something that you need to do. If not, you are out. Use quality versus quantity as well. I really like it, this take, Michael. And I don't know, I think we are on time, a bit early. Alex, if you can let us know how we are, and if the audience has any questions, we are more than happy to reply.
Hello there. So yeah, I was super interested. We actually have one question from the audience. So and I think it's a really good one. So the question is, in your opinion, what's the most underrated growth opportunity e-commerce brands are knowing right now? And that's a huge one because yeah, there are many things we've talked about, but um, what's something that people are actually not paying attention to?
Who want to go first? I've got a good one.
Oh, then you go first, by all means.
It's not because we're in the Product Hackers Conference with Optimizely, but I think experimentation.
I can't complain about that one. You know,
I can talk about many things because over the last months, I've been analyzing nearly 20 companies, digital native brands, and I'm seeing brands growing a lot in terms of top line and doing good marketing, but they don't have the capability to buy properly, right? Because growing is not about increasing sales. To me, growth is about increase sales, understand how to buy, manage your inventory, working capital, digital assets, expense. I mean, it's a group of things that you need to do from a cross-functional view, right? But if we look at only to the digital space, I think still many brands are not capturing the opportunity of the value that experimentations took to the table, right? I mean, bring to the table. So that would be my one. Now, Michiel, you need to say another different.
Yeah, no, and I can click into that one and actually give you one for people who do experimentation, and when you do that, what the biggest missed opportunity is. When we did the research last year that I quoted earlier, we found that companies that used 4 variants or more in an experiment, so not A/B, but A, B, C, D or more, were 27% more likely to succeed. And within that, even companies who tested specifically only on conversion rates or revenue, right? Almost anyone wants to test on revenue as the primary metric. Those companies also tended to be less successful because the customers that actually got closer to the user action, so directly searching in something, clicking an action button, add to carts, those customers were even more successful with a revenue as a guardrail metric. So the closer you can get to the user and their actual behavior and understand them, and then also generate more options for them. Again, AI can definitely help you. If you have an idea, I want this button to be red and to be blue, maybe the AI can come up with the green and the white one, right? There's ways to extend your behavior as a human to kind of expand your reach with some of these things and increase the quality of the testing that you're doing. So I think that is one huge thing that people, even who are testing, are leaving on the table that can drastically improve their program.
Rodrigo, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, the only thing I will say when I come across with a potential customer for Klaviyo, for example, the revenue attribution to the solution that have for email. With Klaviyo, usually it's 30%, and sometimes it's 40%. Imagine if an e-commerce is making 10 millions, they come with a normal solution from email, for example, and just have like 5-10%. So there is a huge potential growth in tools that can communicate and automate communication and personalize communication, as we were saying, and give some value, that are losing a lot of money and they don't realize it because they are focusing in what is important for tomorrow, but they don't really think that they can invest more money in a good technology that can help them to sell more, even 10 or 20% more. That's something that I'm coming across and the people doesn't realize. That's something that I will say, and also because it's really cheap it's cheaper to grow the lifetime value or the ticket, the purchases of your customers, rather than pay Instagram or Meta or Google Shopping or other platform. No, email is really cheap. It's free in this case. So that's the only thing I could say from my side, from my experience.
Yeah.
No one from Meta and Google in the room, right? No.
Yeah, and I love that. We even see that a lot of customers now. So H&M is a good example. They want to test on lowering return rates. So not increasing purchases, lowering return rates, because you can trick customers into buying something, but if they return it later, that costs you way more than you would have just prevented that purchase and done it correctly. So it's not just about tracking the things, but tracking the right things and making sure that you action off of those signals. So yeah, getting that broader picture of your business is super critical. I love that.
Yeah. So to conclude, don't underrate the potential or your own website on your own digital assets, because through experimentation and automation, you can optimize parts of your P&L, not only increasing sales, improving margins, increase retention. So that is something important, because many times we think that the growth is about just getting more audience, but no, it's good if you get a solid brand, a solid proposal. Make sure that your house is clean and ready for maximize the value of your guest, right?
Yeah. But
100%.
So don't be afraid of buying technology, and call me if you need something.
Well, guys, thank you very much. It's been super interesting. I think for people in the audience, if they've got an e-commerce or they're working one, they got really good insights today that they can definitely apply in some way. So thank you very much, Jorge, Michiel, Rodrigo, and yeah, have an amazing rest of the day.
thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye bye. All right, so we're gonna go for the last talk of today. Um, we're gonna go with Sara Marimon and Sofia Huerta. They are marketing automation specialists at Product Hackers, and they're gonna talk about how we research, test, and scale at this company. So, welcome.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. Alex, how are you?
Pretty fine today. Anyway, I'll let you to it. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, as Alex said, we are both growth marketing automation specialists at Product Hackers. It's great to see you here, more or less, especially at the very last session of the conference. Thanks for staying with us. We really appreciate it. In this session, we are going to show you in a dynamic way how we apply the growth methodology to marketing automation and share some real experiments of how we do it. Okay, so in growth, nothing works in isolation. The right way to approach it is by treating everything as part of a system where data, experiments, and results continuously feed each other. That's why data isn't just for reporting, it's what drives new hypotheses, new tests, and new opportunities to scale. Automation is not about repetition, it's about creating loops that get smarter over time. So everything starts with data, as I said, but data alone doesn't create growth. The key is how you turn that data into structured action. So for that's why we organize everything under our main goal, which is the North Star metric, and then we break it down into smaller layers. The North Star metric reflects the real value that the company delivers to its users and gives long-term direction to everything we do. But we can work only on high level, so we need to define a clear goal, which is what we want to move. Then we analyze data to identify problems and opportunities where the biggest friction or potential lies. From there, we generate and prioritize ideas, because just like in product, not every automation needs to be built. So we focus our resources on what has the biggest potential impact. Each idea becomes an experiment with a clear hypothesis that we validate through data. As you can see here, the prioritization framework is very important, and we use the ICE scoring, which help us to decide what to test first. We evaluate each idea based on impact, confidence, and ease. So its impact is how much the idea could actually move the business if it works. Confidence is for how sure we are that the idea will work based on data, past learnings, or user insights. And is how simple or fast is this to implement if this works. So each dimension is rated from 1 to 10. 1, we score all 3, we combine them, either by adding them or multiplying. In Product Hackers, we prefer multiplying, but it really depends on your team. It's up to you. So that's how we make the decisions based on evidence, not intuition. And it's really important to understand that growth is continuous process of testing and learning. Okay, so well, now let's move theory from some action. Sarah will show you some experiments and results.
Perfect. So now it's time for the fun part, a real experiment and result. Before we start, we want to clarify that for privacy reasons, we cannot share the client name or some specific detail of the experiment. But no worries, because we won't. We can talk you through the strategies, the process, and the key learnings. Okay. So let's start with the first one. This is one of my favorite experiments because sometimes in marketing automation, we focus too much on the obvious things like subject line, template, same times. But this experiment, you will see, is different. I was about going beyond the obvious, finding a real growth lever inside our existing workflows. Okay, so next slide. Thank you. What was the problem, okay, of this experiment? The experiment, the name is Optimize Sign-Up Email Flow by User Intention. Okay, let's start with the problem. When I look at the data by market, Spain, France, and Italy, I noticed something really interesting. Is that user who were subscribed to our email had a much higher average order value. But one problem, the conversion rate from visitors to subscribers was quite low. So I checked the flow that was supposed to convert those visitors. And here is when I realized that what could be causing the problem, the same flow, the email flow, and the same content were being used across all the channel the brand had to attract new users. So I decided to focus on improving the sign-up process. This is the very first step of the funnel. What about the idea of this experiment? Not all the users subscribe with the same intention, because someone who sign up from a pop-up knows exactly what they are doing, right? Like they want a discount or sign up to the newsletter. But someone who create an account or fill out a contact form might not even realize that they are subscribing. Okay, so the idea here was simple. Let's adapt our email workflow and message depending on where the user subscribe. Okay, so let's go to the hypothesis. The hypothesis was, if we adapt our sign-up flow to match the user intention by channel, more users will complete their subscription and accept marketing communication. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, that is with the experiment itself. What we did here, we revealed all the sign-up flow for each channel. For the pop-up and newsletter, we keep it short and direct. Quick welcome email, the immediate discount. And for contact form and account registration, we create a new flow explaining what user will get and why the subscription was valuable. Okay? Like, in other words, one brand, but different message based on user intention. Okay, so let's go to the results and learnings in the next. Okay. Well, the results were amazing. Okay, we gained 1,000 of new subscribers across all the three markets in just 1 year. What does it mean, this new subscriber? That means that more users we can now reach with personalized campaign and a much higher potential lifetime value. Okay, what is the main learning here for me? Like, growth doesn't always came from new ideas or fancy tool. It comes from understanding why user act, not just what they do. Okay, so this is about this experiment. And let's go to another one. Okay, this experiment was for the one before, sorry, I didn't mention, it was for an e-commerce, okay, just to mention. And this experiment was for a virtual gym, okay? This virtual gym offer a 5-day free trial of their platform, okay? So let's go to the next slide to see the problem. What happened here? The client told me that many users cancel right after the trial. Okay, they didn't renew the subscription. So I start by analyzing what those users experience during that trial. And what I discovered here, well, something super clear. The email experience was overwhelming. Okay, users were receiving too many emails, sometimes several per day, even generic newsletter not related to their trial. At the beginning, that email open rate and click-through rate were good, but after day 3, engage dropped fast. So here the problem was super obvious: too much content, too little focus. Okay, so what was the idea? If we want users to stay after the trial, we need to help them see the value of the service, not distract them. Okay, so the idea was very simple: simplify the onboarding, make it cleaner, and add more valuable content, focus on helping users actually use the platform and get results. Okay, what was the hypothesis here? If we send a better email by grouping valuable content, the email will have better engagement, okay, better open rate, better click-through rate, and therefore we will improve the unsubscribe rate, because we will deliver more valuable content in fewer email, and therefore avoid over impacting the user. Okay, it was a big hypothesis. So let's go to the experiment. And what we did first, I made sure that during those days, the 5 trial days, user will only receive onboarding emails, no newsletter, no promotion, focus on onboarding. I reduced the email flow from 9 to 6 emails, keeping only the most useful and engaged ones. Okay. And also I redesigned the emails. Okay. Each email had a clear CTA to a specific workout or future, not just the homepage. Okay. The CTA were placed at the top, easy to find and click in the email. And the tone focus on progress and motivation. Nothing, not selling, nothing. Progress and motivation. What we get? Results were amazing. About the metrics, okay, the open rate average from 55% to 62%. The CTR average from 3 to 5. So this is amazing. And the conversion rate in this case that were users who subscribed after the free trial increased from 67% to 95%. So this was really amazing. What they are about the learnings? This experiment taught me something powerful, and is that in automation, less can really be more. But only if what you keep truly adds value. Okay, users don't need more email; they need meaningful ones that really guide them and help them to see result. In this case, the result because it's a virtual gym, okay? Well, just to finalize, when you reduce noise and focus on the real value, engagement and conversion naturally go up, okay? So this is a really, really good experiment. So Sofia, you can continue.
Thank you. Well, I have as well some examples. Both of them is going to be about digital product. So the first one is increase subscription through contextual activation pop-up. Okay, so the first experiment is focused on a high traffic, high intent page, the activation guide of that digital product I was talking about. So we noticed that users land on this page with a very specific intention. They want to activate or understand how the product worked before or after the purchase. So instead of offering the discount on this one, we decided to test a contextual pop-up that provide useful guidance of the exact moment they needed. So the hypothesis here was very simple. It was to align the user's intent. We can increase engagement and trust, and as a result, increase subscriptions. So the pop-up appeared 10 seconds after landing, only for users who hadn't accepted marketing preferences yet, invited them for subscribe to our newsletter so they can have help on the activation process. Okay. So here, the results were very good as well. So the pop-up achieved almost 14% submit rate, which is much higher than the both industry benchmark, which usually is between 3 to 5% general pop-up. And on our internal reference is pretty important to use both because benchmark give us general idea of the performance of the pop-up, while an internal reference show us whether this result is actually strong for our specific client and context. And as well as that, we have engagement metrics, which remained high, which 73% open rate, 44% click-through rate, confirming that users found real value on the communication. Very importantly, we have 0 negative signals, no spam reports, no unsubscribes, and no negative impact on the website, which means we didn't have less time on page or conversion rates. These tell us the pop-up wasn't intrusive, it added value to the customers. So the important thing is always learnings. From these experiments, we learned that lead generation can work effectively, even on pages with functional purpose, as long as the message is aligned with the user intent. Offering help rather than discounts can build trust and convert as good as economic incentives. And another key insight, even if users don't give marketing consent at checkout, which is pretty common, contextual post-purchase strategies like this one can successfully capture consent later, as long as we meet the user's needs and expectations at the right moment. So this is the first one. The second one is iterating on the win-back flow for inactive buyers. One more time, digital product. So this is an iteration. As I said, in growth, an iteration means we already run an experiment before, and it could have either positive or negative outcome, depending on whether the hypothesis was validated or not. What matters is that we learn from that experiment and we use it for this new version, adjusting some elements. In this case, we ran first win-back. We was already positive, but we suspect it could perform even better with some adjustments, as I said. So before we use the RFM analysis to identify the exact moments when users start falling into at-risk segment, which means the RFM analysis is a way to understand customers' behavior, but looking at 3 metrics: recency, how recently someone made a purchase, frequency, how often they buy, monetary value, how much they spend. By scoring users on these 3 dimensions, we can identify segments by champions, loyal, new, and so on. What matters in this RFM analysis was to have the data-driven view on where each customer is in their life cycle. So with this information, we redesigned the win-back flow, and we introduced a sense of urgency first, and then we applied emotional framing, focusing on connection rather than promotion. Okay, so the results were good as well. Even though we reduced the discount from 10% to 7%, before we give them 10%, and now 7, so less, we achieve higher revenue per recipient, more orders, and a 50% increase in conversion rate. This flow also now ranks among the top 10 best performing flows for the brand. And the key learning on this is even well-performing automations can still be optimized, and small strategic adjustments like timing, message framing, or segmentation can make a huge difference in results. Perhaps as well, the most more important takeaway could be timing beats discount size sometimes, which is important always from the revenue. Sarah?
Okay. So after the experiments, before we finish, we want to share some extra resource about marketing automation. Okay. Sophia and I wrote a few blog posts on the Product Hacker blog about key workflows, personalization, how to turn automation into real size machine that you can see on the screen. And also, you can also find a talk I did at the Product Hacker Growth Week, where I share how to scale user acquisition, retention, and monetization with automation. So don't miss it. And yep, so that's how we work: hypothesis, experiment, testing, learning, and turning insight into growth. And I also want to add something, is that this experiment we explained today deliver a strong result, okay? But it's important to have in mind that not every experiment perform the way we expect, okay? And that's okay, because even when the numbers aren't that great, we always walk away with some learnings that I will say can be even more valuable for the company than the experiment itself. Okay, so the learning are very important. So we really hope those experiments show how marketing automation can really make a difference when it's done with purpose. So if you want to keep learning, don't forget to check the result. We check, okay? And well, thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you testing new ideas soon.
I do agree with you, Sarah, with the learnings.
Thank you very much, Sarah and Sophia. We actually have one question from the audience. It says, "Hi, Sarah and Sophia. In these examples you're presenting, how do you prevent yourself not to mix ideas and experiments? Sometimes I see myself mixing them or creating an idea that is actually one experiment." Thank you.
Sophia, if you want, or I can go.
If you like, you can go. I just
Okay.
shared this part because I think it's going to help.
Okay, I'll go. Carlos, what really helped us avoiding missing idea and experiment is sticking our methodology, as Sophia said before: opportunities, ideas, experiment. Like, for example, okay, a quick example. Let's say the opportunity, okay, is to increase retention, because we see in the data that the average rate is below the industry benchmark. Okay. From that opportunity, we generate ideas. Okay. For instance, sending a post-purchase email to encourage a second purchase. Okay. Then those ideas turn into experiment. For example, experiment 1, sending a 5% coupon right after the purchase. Experiment B, 2, sending the same coupon but 1 week after the purchase. Or experiment C, sending the same or with a coupon after the purchase. No? And then we compare which experiment performed better. That's why we don't mix them. Okay. I don't know if you, Sophia, want to add something.
Well, I think is it clear is just to have a structure, as we said.
Mhm.
First you have the big thing, and then you start doing like a smaller layers. And as Sarah said, experiment is very, very on point. Like, I want to do this on this part because, and I expect this. That's why you need the hypothesis, so you don't lose yourself in the metrics.
Correct.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you something as well. So for the people that who are watching, if someone actually wanted to start experimenting with marketing automation, what would you say are the first steps they should take?
Easy one. Okay. Well, if you want to start, probably it's because you have something in mind. For example, I don't know, maybe you want to optimize, as Sarah said, the welcome flow because it's kind of confusing. You are losing revenue. People, you can feel they don't understand what's going on your onboarding flow. So for that, I will say don't lose yourself in very difficult experiments. The first part is, as everything, start. You can have smaller experiments with very good revenue. Don't leave them like it's obvious, so you are not going to have very good learnings, as Sarah said. And in here, I will say just start, if that makes sense.
100%. Sarah, you want to do you
Yeah.
want to add anything?
100% with Sophia.
Okay.
And also, well, it's important to learn and practice with the with Clevillo, Synergize, Salesforce. They are really good platform to help us create pop-up, the workflow, everything. So you need to have some knowledge in this kind of platform.
And normally, as Sarah said, on those examples, you have how are you performing with benchmarks. So the tools told you already if your pop-up or something like that is performing good, bad, or to have more or less the idea.
100%. All right. I think we don't have any more questions. So Sarah and Sophia, thank you very much for the talk today. I think it was super, super insightful with all the experiments. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we got to the end of the Product Hackers Conference 2025. Today, there's been lots of talks about conversion, experimentation, and acquisition, as well as insights on the current problems and challenges the e-commerce sector is facing. But overall, we've had super cool talks today, so thank you all for being here. And before we finish the day, we just came up with the 2 winners of the copies of Talia Wolf's books. And the 2 winners are Carlos Otero and Daniela Sandoval. So please send a message to marketing@producthackers.com and we'll send you the books. So congratulations. And I don't want to finish the day without saying thank you to our sponsors, WordPress.com and Optimizely. Thank you for making this event possible. And we actually had amazing speakers from these companies today. So thank you very much. And that's all. I really hope you got inspired today by the Product Hackers Conference to start experimenting. And yeah, that's all. Thank you very much and goodbye.